I told you so. Hey, I hate doing that to open my show. I'm like, I am just like right now, in my opinion, I am um I'm Nostradamus. I'm Nostradamus. Hey, Xander, I'm getting feedback here for some reason. I'm getting feedback here on the program here. So let's see if we can fix that here a little bit because I'm hearing it here with the Big Sill show here. What do you mean? What do you mean late? Okay. Are you guys hearing me? Can you guys hear it? Everything okay? Because we're getting a little feedback now for some reason. Okay. No, we're still getting it. Sildama. Yeah. No feedback on my end. I'm getting it on my end over here for some reason here. Okay, let's just do this. We're ready to rock and roll. And you know how we're ready to rock and roll? Big Stills. All right. So I hate to do this to you. As the Eagles' world turns, this is incredible. And first, I find a video that Vic Fangio says last year Howie Roseman's defense sucked. Would you like me to play that for you? I posted it. I posted this bad puppy. Let me see here. That Vic was at a golf tournament. Somebody sent me this audio here about Vic Fangio.
I grew up an Eagles fan many years ago.
Wait, got to make sure we're okay with this.
I grew up an Eagles fan many
Yeah, I'm good on the feedback now, Xander. We're good. It was on me.
Started in Philadelphia 40 years.
Hold on here. Here's Vic Fangio taking his shit on Howie.
Eagles fan many years ago. My pro coaching career started in Philadelphia 40 years ago. So hopefully I'll have a little run here and finish in Philly too. Yeah, they weren't very good last year, and
they weren't very good last year.
Some new players.
You mean Howie's defense wasn't very good last year? Damn. What makes you think you're going to be pretty good this year? New players, new coaches? He just stated facts. I was stating facts since since New England. You didn't believe me. I said your defense is not that good. You didn't believe me. I told you from day one that thing wasn't going to be good. We all know this, jackass. Look at this gossip queen today. Oh, no, none of this is on me. That was the voice of Vic Fangio telling you that Howie's team wasn't very good last year. Okay? That's this year he said it. Hopefully we're going to be better. We'll see what happens. That was put on the air in Philly this morning. They were addressing pretty much the same personnel. Pretty much the same personnel. We haven't even gotten to Howard Eskin yet. Whoa! We got this thing going today. You guys might not want to hit the like button today. Because what I'm going to tell you is everything that I've been telling you is totally coming true. You haven't addressed anything of your problems in your locker room at all. And now the organization is feeling the same thing. I've been listening to JAKIB Sports the last 3 years. My fellow Eagle fans, and I love this. Everything about them, they tell us the absolute truth that a lot of the Eagle fans don't want to hear. Respect. Miguel, thank you. That's exactly true. And boy, are they going to fight you today, Miguel. You're going to see 1,000 LJs today. You're going to see 1,000 LJs. You're going to see all kinds of people mad at me for talking about what others are saying about your team. That's what they're going to say. Okay? They're going to be mad at me here. So let's dive in. I think it was more of a euphemism. Xander and John McMullen this morning were taking it as verbatim. They're going to start Carson Wentzing Jalen Hurts. They're going to start preparing to move on from him. And John says, well, Wentz demanded a trade. Well, Howie got in front of that, did he not, by drafting Jalen Hurts? Because the organization had started to begin to see some cracks in the armor. Carson Wentz, going into the 2020 season, wasn't demanding to be traded. They had drafted Wentz or Hurts to begin the process. Would they have run it back? Not when Wentz saw the writing on the wall. So they were beginning as an organization to have questions about Carson Wentz. I think it started in the Seattle playoff game. We're not doing this again? Your mouthpiece, sideline reporter for your team yesterday reported that if Jalen Hurts doesn't have a great 2024 season, the team will begin the process of moving on from him. I didn't say that. What is your problem? What is your problem? I mean, do you think that guy just randomly came up with? Why does Howard Eskin suck for being told something? Nobody is going to risk their job. Dude, that's a fireable offense. When you're the sideline reporter for the Philadelphia Eagles, if you start throwing out misinformation. That was yesterday afternoon. This has nothing to do with last year. This has everything to do with this year. Absolutely. Sileo talks about other people said because he doesn't have enough of a brain. This has nothing to do with me. So if your indictment is on me, LJ, you shouldn't be here then. Go follow someone else. I've been doing this for 40 years almost. I know what I'm doing. I've worked as a sideline reporter with professional football teams. I've worked as a pre- and post-game host for NFL teams and college football teams, actually baseball teams too, and hockey teams. You don't have the absolute autonomy to start barking shit out like that without someone coming to you and telling you, LJ, go away then. Just go away. Go away. If you don't like it, this is not the military draft. You're not employed to be here. Never. Because you know why? This is more about me to him than actually telling you the truth about your team. And this is what people in Philly run from. Not all of you. Not all of you. Seriously, some of you don't have to be here. We like you here, But this has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with me. I comment, and I'm an observationist. That's what I am. I'm an observationist. I observe what others say, and I comment on it. Just like every pundit in the news media does, and everybody in the sports media does. You comment on what Nick Nurse says. You comment on what John Tortorella says. You comment on what everyone says, including people that cover the team. You talk bullshit. What bullshit did I talk about that the sideline reporter said that if Hurts doesn't have, here, let's do the topic. Things have to be getting a little tense in the Eagle front office to allow the mouthpiece, Howard Eskin, to drop out that Hurts has to have a 2024 season or they'll begin the Carson Wentzing of Hurts. He said that. Where do you think he got that? He made it up? I speculate a lot. Sideline reporters and people who work for the Eagles, that's the closest thing that you'll get to somebody telling him, hey, this guy better have a great year. Hey, and this stuff with that cap hits is so stupid. You want to hear something? Now, granted, it's a lot, it's a bit more money. But do you understand this year that the Denver Broncos are paying $43 million? $43 million to Russell Wilson. And the Steelers are paying 1.2 of his salary this year. Do you know that? Granted, I'll tell you how, according to the NFLPA, you can get out of this. If that's the avenue you want to go down. But you tell me this. Why in the world would the employee of the Philadelphia Eagles come out and say that Hurts has to have a better season or they'll begin the process of Carson Wentzing Hurts? That's a pretty bold statement for a guy to even go on WIP barking that. What do you mean? I'm going to ask Merill Reese that question at 5:30 today. Why would one of your broadcast partners, maybe the toughest question I ever asked Merill. Merill, what's your take on him saying that about Hurts? You're a moron if you are expecting this team to coast to a 13-win season with a new OC in DC, maybe in 25. Forest Hill, I agree with you. Carson Wentz got Carson Wentz because he effing knee and was never the same. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in 2020 when they began the process after the season on exiting away from him. And that's when he said he wanted a trade. Prior to that year, Howie drafted a quarterback 56th overall and Jalen Hurts. And that started the whole process. Actually, Seattle, the playoff game, and the hit by Clowney started the whole beginning of the end when he didn't go back in the game. And that's the following season when they ended up drafting Hurts in the second round. He drafted a safety belt. Sills, do you believe in Hurts this season? I don't believe in the Eagles this season. It's not Jalen. I don't believe the way they're coaching them. I told you that. If you allow the kid to be the kid that we saw in 2022, then yeah, I think he can do some marvelous things. He's a very undefensible guy. But if you start trying to make him into Joe Burrow, he'll never be that guy. He's not remotely close to that guy. Get this. Howard Eskin, hired by the Philadelphia Eagles, and is the sideline reporter who hears things on the sidelines. Do you actually think they would allow him to be on the sidelines in 2024 if he was going on the air in the city of Philadelphia lying about the Eagles and their position with Hurts right now? Would you ever want that if you were the team? Wouldn't you demand him fired? He's on the side. Think about this. Hey, guys, by the way, the people that are making this about me right now don't want to hear what I'm saying. So I want you to hear it crystal clear. And I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Whether you don't like me or not. Okay? Whether you don't like me or not. The bottom line, if you had a guy employed and he was on the sidelines hearing private conversations with players and coaches because he has got accessibility with the proximity of how he is as close to the players and hearing conversations, it's got nothing to do with me, Jason. This is fucking nothing to do with me. Would you want an employee going on the air in Philadelphia on June 18th, yesterday, and saying that the Eagles in the front office, if this guy doesn't play well, will begin the process of removing him? Would you? I would fire that guy today if that wasn't true. If I would, dude, you don't understand. Hey, get this. Xander Kraus gets so much shit for the stupid little tiny shit that we say here. You don't think that's a big deal? I heard Xander and John McMullen today, and they never even plugged in this. Jesus Christ, Xander. They call you on stupid shit about me. You don't think they'd call WIP and demand a retraction? They demand retractions from their coaches and players every fucking week. What makes you say true about our team? Just like you don't think it's Hurts the good leader. What do you think everyone has played with would say? I'm not sure. Again, Fat Mac, you got to put it a little better than that. You tell me. Thank you, though, Fat Mac. You tell me. I would demand a retract. Hey, so wait a minute. You don't demand a retraction from Eskin, but you demand a retraction or to quantify your comments after the Jets game when it comes to Hurts. Boy, oh boy, you're blind as a bat. I have been right, and I'm even more. Get this. It's becoming sad that I'm right. Okay? By the way, to LJ's point, I don't have to retract shit. I'm a talk show host. I'm not a journalist, fuckbag. I'm not the sideline reporter, and I'm not employed by the Eagles. I'm employed by JAKIB, not the Eagles. I owe them nothing. I owe them nothing. Nothing. I owe my audience a show every day for 4 fucking hours. Okay? I owe them nothing. I don't have to be politically correct, which I've never been. I don't have to sit there and toe the company line. He does. If Howard Eskin doesn't come out with a retraction, as far as I'm concerned, it's true. Bruce, you know what, Bruce? Sills is too real for these Gentiles. Can't let blinded folks get you worked up. They do it as trolls. No, listen. Hey, Sean, LJ's content. He's a bridge. He's like a stone in my shoe. It's a box of rocks. It's a guy that I can just absolutely show you what. Always remember something, Sean. He thinks Sirianni's better than Reed and Doug. That's all you need to know about him. And he comes after me. All you need to know. That's it. That he'd rather have Sirianni as your head coach than Andy Reid and Doug. That's it. Listen, the Eagles could have a hell of a season this year, and Sills will find a way to talk about the Eagles. You're damn right, because you're not going to have a hell of a season. You're never going to have a hell of a season. You were an 11-win football team last year, and you had a shitty season. Why? That was the ugliest 11 wins I have ever seen in my entire life. And they were miserable doing it. They were miserable, and they couldn't fight adversity. Seals, you're speaking facts, and we love you, but calm down. Don't need your blood pressure to rise over these trolls. We'll always support you and Xander. Thank you, Jameson. Jameson, I get fired up over a lot of things, brother. Don't worry about it. I'm Italian. That's all you need to know, guy. We're good, brother. Honestly, man. It's all good. This is going to be a great year. Stills, isn't very possible that Eskin is reporting the exact story the owner and GM want to float to the public? Yes. The story didn't come from the sidelines, but the boardroom. Bob, thank you. Put Bob up there. Put Bob, that's it. Bob, yes. Bob, does it come off to you that you think that Philadelphia organization, hey, Xander, let me ask, I can't wait to get Xander's on at 4:30. Mark Holmes, I don't think we're getting Philly 500 today at 3:30. He's got an obligation. 5:30 is going to be Merill Reese. But I can't wait to get Xander on. Seals, isn't it very possible that Eskin is reporting exactly the story that the owner and GM want to float out to the public? The story didn't come from the sideline, but the boardroom. Let me ask you something here. Xander, why would they call, and this is for him at 4:30, why would they call you about me calling the general manager a glorified CPA and said that, make those comments up that I was racist, or to threaten John McMullen and his key fob because I was on JAKIB Sports and the network? You know, they threatened John over me, and you're trying to tell me you think it's cool that a sideline reporter starts barking on the airwaves of the flagship station. I was fired because of the flagship station, telling them, you either go or I go. You either go or I go. Do you understand that? I think we're getting Philly 500. Awesome. Awesome. What do you hey, that organization called Craig Carton and Fox and FS1 because of the shit he was saying. But you're just going to let Howard Eskin spread false rumors? Ask yourself that. And guess what the media do in Philly? You know what the media will do in Philly? They'll blow it off like a nothing burger. That's June 17th. No biggie. An employee of the Philadelphia Eagles, who are an organization is absolutely petrified if anybody says anything negative about, is allowing an employee to go out on the airwaves on a 50,000 watt station, one of the most powerful sports stations in America, saying that if Hurts doesn't play well in 2024, they're going to begin the Carson Wentzing of him. Really? Well, I've worked for organizations like that, and it doesn't work like that. Do you know how many times when I worked for the Raiders in the pre and post game, and I did an afternoon show in the Bay Area, do you know how many times I'd get calls from the Raiders? Hey, let's not go down that route. Let's not talk about Jeff George like that. Hey, let's not talk about Joe Bugle like that. A little bit more positive in the comments about Bugle. He really likes him. And you're like, okay, because you know what? You got to follow along and you got to play along. That's what the deal is. Doesn't work like that. Hey, John works for JAKIB. He don't work for the Eagles. Howard works for the Eagles. It's a different mentality. They got more control of Howard. Forrest goes, Howard never said who told him. You don't get it. You don't go on making shit up. You don't go on hey, okay, so that would be like Merill Reese at 5:30 today going like this. There's a good chance that if Nick Sirianni doesn't get out to a 4-0 start, they could fire him in September. And you think the Eagles would be okay with that? You guys don't see it. I cannot believe how blind some of you are. This is exactly the same stuff that went on at the back end of the season. Philly hater, please like and subscribe. Fat Mac Philly, thank you, my friend. Prince, dude, this is that front office. I could just feel the hidden truth readying to crack Earth's surface. I'm waiting years for this. Long live King Sills. Mr. Perez goes, 34 minutes of horseshit. That an employee of the Eagles came out and said Hurts better have a 2024 season or they'll start the process of moving on from him. And an employee of them said it, not me. Okay. You need to call WIP and the Eagles then and ask him, is there a retract? Hey, how many people think there's a retraction coming? Hey, if there's a retraction, I'll take it back. I have no problem. Hey, Bob, if they have a retraction, I'll go, hey, man, okay, that was just an opinion that got a little away from Howard. Howard's one of the best sports talk guys, or used to be. Hey, Sills, the Eskin report is no different than Hurts commenting 95% change to the offense. Both stories give coverage. They both slant in their favor if season turns to shit. So you're saying this, that Jalen's making excuses, but hey, that's Jalen's opinion. When you're a sideline reporter, you're not supposed to have an opinion. And I'll say this one more time to you, my friend. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, hold on. I'm awake, are you? Would you trust Howard Eskin on the sideline with confidential comments being made by players and coaches if he's out there saying that this is a do or die year for Hurts? Just a common question. Would you? Would you trust him? Knowing that organization the way they are, would you trust them? Would you trust them? How about the conversations that A.J. Brown may have with Hurts on the sidelines? And if you're the Eagles, after hearing a guy say, unless he was told, you're not getting it. It's not so much what he's saying, is that he's saying it publicly and not in opinion form. You see, if John Ritchie said that, I'd be like this. Or even John McMullen said that. I'd be like, well, it's a reporter. Has to be a little bit of opinion there. John Ritchie does a morning show. Did morning radio for 30 years. I get it. But when you're an employee of a pro football team like I've been, there's stricter parameters and guardrails. You're just not understanding how broadcasting works. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you and tell you why I have stepped on my dick all these years. I'm coming from a place of experience. I got canned or replaced because I was going to Boston and San Diego. Do you know I was the pre- and post-game show host for the San Diego Padres, the San Francisco Giants, and the Florida Marlins? I was the pre- and post-game host for those three Major League Baseball teams, okay? When I would go on the air and start saying shit like the Padres are known for two things, Tony Gwynn and the hamburger guy. Do you know the shit I got? I was the Padres guy for 3 years. Many people don't realize that. I was the Giants post-game show host for 3 years at KMBR 68. You don't have that autonomy. I was the pre- and post-game show host for the Raiders for 3 years. You don't have that type of latitude. I'll talk about Willie in a minute. Of course, I met Willie Mays. Willie Mays was one of the most accessible people you can possibly be around. Howard Eskin is going to be Trump's White House press secretary. You tell me. So you think there's nothing to it? That a sideline reporter and an employee of the Eagles is going out on a 50,000 watt powerful WIP, and that's a nothing burger. Xander said it the other day on June 17th. That Hurts comment with all this stuff is not adding up. Hurts saying the offense is 95% new. What's his name coming out saying, wait, it's not. It's about 20% new. Hurts saying, I don't know what the role is of the head coach. Now you're having a guy come out saying they're going to start the process of looking for a new quarterback after this year if he doesn't have a good year. All of this noise does not resemble the meltdown of last year. You never addressed it because of the most important thing that you did do. You didn't change the culture in your locker room. And the loss of Kelsey is rearing its head even more. You have no leadership on that team. None. And it's an implosion. I already know it. Like I told you in the New England, that defense is not good. You got Vic Fangio telling you now they weren't very good last year. I told you after the New England game, they weren't going to be a great team. I thought they'd get better by week 8. I did. But it didn't because they made the move by week 9 or 10 to fire Desai. Get this. An employee. LJ's calling Howard Eskin gossip when he works for the team. You made the coach, the players, all last year do retractions on some of the comments that they made in the locker room and after games. But you're not going to have a guy come out and say, hey, they're going to start the Carson Wentz process. You can't be a gossip guy and a sideline reporter. You don't understand. They're not the same. It's a different job description. John covers the team. Howard works for the team, which means he's told things. They put him on the air so he can be the Philadelphia Eagles mouthpiece. Don't you get it? That's a megaphone for the Eagles, WIP now. Angelo's telling you that every fucking time he comes on. That is a megaphone now for the Eagles. They have zero credibility. You do not know how broadcasting works. I've worked at every single angle of this profession. Talk show host, co-host, pre- and post-game, sideline reporter, baseball, hockey, NFL. There's nothing I haven't done. Nothing. I've worked for networks. I worked at Fox Sports. I was the first hire at Fox Sports Radio. Me. I'm trying to explain to you. This is something here. The media is looking for a good story. The media is looking for a good story, but the employee usually doesn't give the story. When I set up a story about something and people start responding to it, that's one thing. But when an employee of the team hired by the flagship station to be the mouthpiece and megaphone says it, it's a different animal. Like I said, John McMullen and people like John McMullen are not employees of the Eagles. It's why NBC Philadelphia Sports is told not to put anybody on our show. You know why? They've got an agreement with the Eagles. So Bob Lang calls them and tells them, don't put anybody on Sileo show or the network because of Sileo. He says that. Xander knows it. Joe Kraus knows it. Hey, to them, kudos to them because they don't waver. Most companies waver. They don't waver because we're only talking ball here. Nothing personal. A little personal with Howie because he's a Gator, but probably a little personal with me too because I'm a Hurricane. I don't give a fuck, dude, if anybody on the team likes me. I didn't care if any of the Buccaneers liked me. It didn't matter, but they listen. Or they wouldn't be calling my bosses every day. Even Angelo knows that. You know, Angelo kind of makes me a little crazy that he even knows it now. You know, he texted me the other day, too, after he came on. And you know what he said? Man, you got them riled up, dog. They watch your show every day. And, boy, you don't know the people that call me and go and watch your show that work at IP and over at the Fanatic. You are saying things that they're not allowed to. Kudos to you. As long as your bosses keep going, you're the only guy in the building. Seals Eskin is delivering the exact message that Howie and Jeff, mostly Jeff, wanted delivered this way. A shot across the bow. Hurts now no. Oh, Hurts. Can I tell you, Bob? Hey, Bob, that's a great take. I'm going to tell you something here, Bob. That Eskin comment. Why do you think Eskin made that comment? Why do you think he made that comment? Oh, Jalen wants to throw shit at Nick Sirianni? Nick Sirianni, and he wants to throw shit at the coach? And he wants to start making excuses? Well, 2024 better be a good year for you, Hurts. Or we'll start that process too, like we did with Wentz. Okay? We can move on from you too. We moved on from Doug. Dude, if you can move on from Doug Peterson, you can move on from Jalen Hurts. What's he done? I think they're pissed off more so. Like Jeff McClain reported last week, that this right here that Eskin's saying, I think that this has a lot to do with the organization. Maybe it's an idle threat. And by the way, on June 19th, it could be just a threat. Hey, don't talk shit on our guys, or we'll move on from you. It could be just that subtle. Don't you think that was a comment to put Jalen Hurts back in line again and start towing the line and the company line? Don't you think? One thing the Eagles do that I respect is they know how to move on from a quarterback. Absolutely. Lateral day, dual threat. 42-19. Thank you, brother. By the way, I'm hearing at the end of the year, they're going to give Brock Purdy a deal that's going to put him in the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League. Jalen will have a bounce back season. Same could be said about Purdy, Jackson, and your beloved Josh Allen. Hey, Marcus. Brock Purdy was in the Super Bowl in the 5th quarter last year. Jackson was the MVP. And Josh Allen is considered one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league outside of Philadelphia. Hurts is not. Sad that we're talking about moving on already when February 2023, Jalen almost helped us win a Super Bowl. Philly media, dipshits. Dude, that Super Bowl thing is the dumbest thing you could possibly say. Okay? Honestly, played here. I'm gonna give you guys a point about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles and the Niners. Niner, you may not like this, but I'm just going to show you. And John McMullen said this morning. Did he not? Just make sure to double check this here, Xander. John said this. I didn't really think he played that bad last year when talking about Jalen in 23. Guess what? That's not good enough to beat that kid in Kansas City. And the Eagles and the Niners now know, no matter how much money you spend, how much money you put in the huddle, it's not good enough. You can't just have, well, I didn't think he played that poorly. That's not good enough. The MVP in Baltimore didn't play good enough. So this has to be one of the most disappointing things for Howie Roseman to deal with. No matter how much money you spend, it won't matter because your quarterback is not good enough. What did John say? I didn't think he played that poorly. That's not good enough. With all that talent. Tell me I'm wrong. Brock Purdy took Kansas City into the 5th quarter. Jalen played his ass off. Not good enough. You don't get graded on a bell curve when it comes to greatness. Okay, Prince wants to throw the coaching in. Okay, you're not good enough. You weren't surely good enough in coaching and at the quarterback position. You're not good enough. Josh Allen last year, they weren't good enough at the coaching position and quarterback position. Yes. You are not subject to be excused from that dialogue. You're not good enough. We'll see who's good enough. Dude, you had everyone a year ago play great. Their numbers dictate it. Once again, I keep bringing the point up that you're blind to. Nobody had a bad year on the offense. Nobody. Who had a bad year? Tell me who had a bad year in the offense. What player had a bad year? What player had a bad year? Watkins, the third wide receiver that they don't. Goddard was injured. Tell me again, who had a bad year? Quez Watkins? Well, he's not on the team. What player? Stick to the fucking players and a player accountability, what Xander said yesterday. What player had a bad year last year? Goddard's injured. Oh, now Goddard's the new guy? Goddard. Who else? I'm not making excuses. I'm asking you a question. What player on that offense? You said Goddard. Okay, Goddard. LJ brings a great point up. Obsessed with last year because you haven't fixed last year's problems. And you can't fix it with signing people. That's the mentality. So wait a minute. Let's ask yourself this question. Let's put it down on paper here. If they fix their locker room problems. And you know what I'll do? I'll go right along with you guys here. You ready? Okay. Hurts is not sure he likes the offense. That was at his press conference. Nick Sirianni said in his press conference that the offense was going to be a blend of the old and new. Jalen said the offense is 95% new. Jalen asked the role of the head coach. I don't know the role of the head coach. No role, head coach. Howard Eskin goes, no. An employee of the team. No. It's about 20% new. And then the employee comes out again and says they may start, and I'm paraphrasing this, the transition of looking for a new quarterback. So this is what's going on in your offseason. First, Howie doesn't want to address the Hassan Reddick stuff. That's not that big a deal. But the Reddick deal, Hurts, not sure he likes the offense. Nick, blend of the new and the old. Jalen saying it's 95% new, contradicted by the employee of the team, 20% new. Jalen and the head coach doesn't know his role. They'll start a transition if he doesn't have a good 24 season. These are all things that have been going on in the media from the organization and the NovaCare Center. Get this. This is not media made. This is Philadelphia Eagle made. This is the same kind of shit that imploded your season a year ago. Nobody in the media made this up. These are all things that were at press conferences and by an employee of the team. Where are you getting? People are making these storylines up. Get this. These storylines came from Hurts, an employee of the team, and the head coach. Where in the world are you getting that guys like me made this up? Where are you getting this from? The coach and the player were contradicting themselves the entire offseason. And then you had an employee of the team contradicting the quarterback. Where are you getting? And by the way, some people, even on our network, say, this is a nothing thing. Isn't this the kind of shit that imploded your year a year ago? Outside noise? Hey, Dan, do you think Hurts actually believed in Johnson and not Sirianni, and maybe he feels the wrong guy was let go? Yeah, I do. And he can't say it. How can Brian Johnson be a great coach when you have Nick telling everybody it's my offense? So wait a minute. You fired Brian for play calling someone else's game plan. How could you find out or know if that guy's a good coach or not? You never let him be a coach. Brian Johnson is getting the heat for Nick Sirianni's incompetent offensive game plan. That's not fair. And Jalen didn't speak up for him. That's not right. That's not right. Dude. Hey, Roland. How many are you not shocked how many people in here are not wanting to hear this? Hey, why don't you do me a favor? Philadelphia sports fans, why don't you go give Trey fucking Turner a 21-minute fucking standing ovation for coming off of IR? What's that about? Who fucking cares? Go to work, kid. You give him a 21-minute standing ovation for coming off of IR? What in the world is that? You gotta be kidding me. What happened to some of you? Where in the world do you give Trey Turner a 21-minute standing ovation for a guy who sucked in the playoffs a year ago for coming off of injured reserve? I was told you were tough. What in God's name? Man, what an epiphany. Philadelphia sports fans who destroyed Ben Simmons. You're giving a 21-minute standing ovation to a guy because he came off of injured reserve? I thought that was reserved for people like Mays. 15-2, book it. Like and subscribe. So if you, QB, move off of Jalen Hurts, who's available, or are you going to draft a rookie quarterback and start over? All this to protect the bum-ass coach. It's a great question. We're going to do that at the top of the hour here. I'm going to tell you how to move off him. Maybe Hurts wants out. What in the world are you doing celebrating a guy coming off an injured reserve? What is that? How is that a thing? Jesus criminy. Did he hit 4 home runs in a game? No, he's coming off injured reserve. How much you paying him? $40 million a year, $30 million a year. I'm not understanding what I'm cheering for. Doing your job? What on? Dude, I expect that in Los Angeles. Or I expect that in some snowflake city, somewhere else. I don't expect that in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I don't. Guy comes off IR and you're giving him a 21-gun salute. How pathetic. The standing O they gave him last year got him going. Oh, but not the money. Sam goes like this last year. Hold on here for a second. Let me find out something here. Just to get this. Sam says the standing O got him going. Let me see something here. I just got to ask him just a simple question here. How much money does Trey Turner make a season? Okay, so this guy makes $30 million a year, but your cheers got him going. Soft? You're right. I'm too old for that because I don't understand that. I'm paid to do a job. They already started the Wentz treatment. Hurts was the low-risk replacement for Wentz. Pickett is the same for Hurts. That's why they traded for Pickett. Hey, you know what? Let's use a little bit of LJ's logic now. Maybe one of the reasons why. You want to hear something crazy? I'm gonna read this to you here. I got to go to the NFL website here. If they would have moved off him this year, hypothetically, if they would have moved off him this year, let's start it now. Hold on. NFLPA. I got to type something in. Hang on. Can the Eagles move off of Jalen Hurts? Okay, contract. Well, the Eagles certainly want to have. Okay, here we go. I got to type this in. Well, the Eagles certainly want to have a strong year in 24 and likely will. Hurts still is very young and ready. Moving on after the 24 season would be hasty unless something shocking happens. Now, here's how it could happen. Then that's right, Prince. I wrote it down here. Let's move to it now. Because I hear Xander bring that number up, the $100 million. It's a number. It's a thing. How can the Eagles move off of Hurts' deal? Here. If Hurts waives his no, and this is the big one. If he waives his no trade clause, he's been paid so far $24.3 million. That was for this year. Obviously, it's not happening. And to LJ's point, these cap hits make it conducive to move off him. I'll show you how. Contract also is fully guaranteed in 25. Option bonuses of $41 million. He has a base of 1.17. That's why the cap's low. In the next 3 seasons, Jalen Hurts will be paid $133 million. That's $44 million, almost $45 million per year. Now, here's the deal. 2 things would have to happen. A team would have to want to pick the contract up, and he'd have to waive his no clause. Got to find a partner. You got to find a team that would want to make that deal. Cap hits. Some of these cap hit conversations, it's phony because you can restructure. Standing ovation didn't help on the playoffs. It's a weak look, too. The dead cap for the next 3 years is $12 million for post-June 1 trades. Not catastrophic. You got to find a partner, and he's got to waive. The smartest thing in the contract is not the money. The smartest thing in the contract is his no trade. Nicole Lynn getting that no trade puts a lot of it on Hurts. Now, let's do this. What if Jalen sees the football team implode again internally? And there's too much bullshit from up top. Maybe he wants out. And he waives it. Or he gives the Eagles a list of teams that he'd be willing to go to. What if it doesn't work out in Pittsburgh like the place he wanted to go initially? To Mike Tomlin. How about Tampa? How about Miami? How about the Jets? How about if he's the heir apparent in New York, the Jets to Aaron Rodgers? Getting off that deal's not as big as you think. You got to find a partner, and he's got to waive the no trade. It can be done. Dude, the Denver Broncos. Now look, it's half the money. They're paying $44 million, Denver, for a guy playing in Pittsburgh, still in the AFC. What if Wilson, he didn't have that horrible of a season a year ago. What if he bounced back and that Steeler team gets a great productive year out of him and they go to the AFC title game? You're paying to beat them. And they're paying $44 million. The Steelers are paying 1.5 for a guy that can take him to the AFC title game. Holy shit. Omar Khan, way to go. What a gamble that is. And the gamble is nothing. 1.5? The Eagle kicker makes more. Hey, so let's do this. How many people believe that the Philadelphia Eagles, if Jalen Hurts doesn't have a good season in 24, according to Howard Eskin, if he doesn't have a good year, that they will try to move heaven and earth to get out from that contract? Do you believe that? Why would they hang on the vine? Because then get this, to what everyone says, Xander and everyone, people on my network, people on the air at IP, and the Fanatic, and the Inquirer, there's nothing left to do. You're not good enough. What are you going to do? Go into every year knowing you're not good enough? Calvin goes, Eskin has zero credibility. Then why does he work for the Eagles? Calvin, he's not a talk show host. He's a mouthpiece. He's a megaphone for the team. He's not a talk show host. He's perpetrating himself as one. This is you haven't even played a game yet. I'll tell you something. If I'm Nick, John McMullen's article might actually be right. Hey, this is a political hot stove right now because that organization is known to panic. And new knee-jerk moves, firing of a coach in season, removing a coordinator, putting another guy in, bringing Matt Patricia in. Who thought that thing up? I'd really like to know who was that. Has anyone ever answered that? Has anyone ever answered who hired him? Who's hired him? Who put him in as the court? Hey, let me ask you this. Why didn't you put Denard Wilson? Oh, that's right. You moved off him. And he's now the DC in Tennessee. I forgot. That's right. Vic Fangio coming out also at a golf tournament that was played on the air today in Philly. Yeah, they weren't good last year. What wasn't good? Doesn't Vic say good players make good defenses? I don't think he was taking a shit on Desai. I thought he was taking a shit on the players. Yeah, they weren't good last year. Got new coaches in, got some new players in. Hopefully we're going to be better than we were a year ago. Didn't Vic Fangio at a press conference, didn't he come out publicly and say, hey, schemes don't make good defenses. Good players make good defenses. So the players on the team last year were not good. So wait, the guys that you've been telling me about the greatness of the Howie Roseman drafting, the defensive coordinator says that you sucked last year. The guy who constructed the players and put on the team, it wasn't Nick Sirianni, it was Howie Roseman. And he's saying it today on the Philadelphia airwaves on TV. They weren't good. But it was Sean Desai. That's not what Vic said. That's not what Vic said. Vic was completely right. They stunk it up last year. The players did. That's how he looks at it. He goes, the scheme's not going to make us better. Do you understand? He said that to you. Scheme's not going to make us better. Better players make us better. The thing that Xander talked about with player accountability. Vic believes in it, like every good coach does. Hey, think Bill Belichick's any worse of a coach today than he was when he was winning Super Bowls? No. They had lesser quarterback play. Isn't that the biggest example? Isn't that the biggest example? You had Tom Brady, okay. And then you went to Mac Jones and you went to Cam Newton. Well, what'd you think you were going to get? It was going to maintain? Who do you think you are, Joe Gibbs? This comes down to Jimmy's and Joe's. Still's making up his on BS. What am I making up? Once again, what am I making up? Hurts not knowing the role of the coach. New offense is 95% new. The head coach said it was going to be the blend of the old and new. Hurts not sure he liked the offense. An employee of the team came out and said that, no, it's only 20% new. And then an employee of the team came out and said if Hurts doesn't have a good year, they're going to Carson Wentz the quarterback. What's BS? This came out of press conferences in the mouth of an employee of the team. What's BS? By the way, if one or two of these things were said, I agree with Xander. It's June 17th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It seems every week there's some drama. Then you have Jeff McClain coming out going, people in the front office are not happy with Jalen Hurts. So you have Jeff here. You have a sideline reporter in Jeff McClain. You have an employee of the team in Howard Eskin. You have the coach saying shit that doesn't go along with the quarterback, and the quarterback contradicting the head coach. None of these things came from the media. What's BS? What's BS? Your own local news played Vic saying you weren't good. And your players weren't good last year. Basically took a shot at Howie. Howie, the guys you put on the defense last year and on the roster weren't good enough. But magically this year, they are. Okay. And you traded away your best defensive player. Okay. I can't believe I see this and no one else can. It's mind-numbing. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, swinging a golf club, goes, yeah, they weren't very good. Oh, man. And him telling you exactly, hey, this ain't going to be anything. Remember what Dave Wanstead said on my program? It won't be because of Vic's schemes. Vic knows what he's doing. It'll be because you don't have players that are good enough. Player accountability, which nobody in Philadelphia wants to hold anybody to anymore. Greatest example, a 21-gun salute for Trey Lance for coming off IR. The guy who makes $30 million a year. But I mean, hey, Angelo's right. What happened? Did you lose your balls? Did you lose your balls? I mean, did your balls fall off? If you're associated with the Philadelphia media or town, you look for negatives. I don't know if there's something about their upbringing or they have too many hoagies or, hey, Twiz, this is coming out of the NovaCare Center and out of the flagship station of the Eagles. This is not coming out of the media. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're making it up. What are you talking about, Twiz? The quarterback and the coach, an employee and the station of the Eagles is saying this, and the defensive coordinator is. What are you talking about? Where is the makeup? Hey, and get this. That's a great point. I hadn't added that in. Says, why do you think there's $30 million in extra cap space? I don't know. Are they saving money up to move off of Hurts? You ever think of that? They got to be like the only winning team that are $30 million under the cap going into the season. Did you ever think, why are they saving it? What are they putting it away for a rainy day? National conspiracy show, he says. How is this conspiracy when the coach and the player and the NovaCare Center and an employee in the flagship of the team is saying this? What is the conspiracy about it? Dude, like I said, if there's one thing, that's fine. If there's 20 things, you haven't addressed what happened. And why last year I still harp on it? Because I don't think you fixed why you melted down, because you never held anybody accountable for it. And the problem still resonates. Jalen Hurts should dump water on Howard like Deion Sanders did to Tim McCarver for talking shit about him. Really? Disciple. If somebody starts talking like that and says that shit about me, I'm the guy who's the starting quarterback and the sideline reporter, no wonder that, what's his name, that ESP guy could write a column about Deshaun Jackson and get away with it because the Eagles tell him that. When he was at NJ.com, the Kelly people had to leak that to him for him to be allowed in that locker room. Would you ever trust anybody that cost an Eagle his job ever again and allow him to go back into a locker room? Would you ever trust a reporter after putting all those false innuendos about Deshaun Jackson? And even if some of them had a tinge of truth, would you ever want a reporter to talk like that about, and as a beat reporter, knowing the kind of control that Bob Lang and the Eagles have over the reporters? Would you allow that? You call my bosses daily, and you allow that, and then turn around and allow Howard, an employee of the Eagles, to go on airwaves on your station with no ramifications. What's his name says I'm no different than ESP. I'm not a reporter. I'm a talk show host. I've never, ever in a million years called myself a journalist. He does. I'm not looking to get a key fob. I could care less. I'm paid by JAKIB. If the Eagles offered me a key fob, it would probably hurt my show. I'm a talk show host. I have opinions. When you're a columnist, you're not supposed to write innuendos that cost players their jobs. Who actually gives a shit what I say? But guys who are around football players in a locker room on a day-to-day basis, hearing private conversations, you're okay with. No way. That's not how that works. I've been in this business too long. No way. John McMullen knows better too. He knows that there's a difference. I don't think they'd move on. Really. But they'll move on from Doug. And move off of Wentz. Well, there's so much money. Dude, if that team will eat $40 million of Carson Wentz's deal, they'll come up with ways. Hey, I thought Howie was some sort of capologist in Howie Vision. You're telling me a guy like that couldn't come up with a dance partner to move Hurts and construct a contract a way that would be conducive for the Eagles not to get killed in the cap? You're out of your minds. That's the one thing that guy does exceptionally well. You know what he does well? Comes up with ways of getting out of trouble. I think we're getting Philly 500 on two. He wasn't supposed to, but this is going to be, if Philly 500 does show up to this, this may be one of the most contested and heated conversations on what's going on, because I'll tell you what, the Eagles now look like the Cowboys. There's drama in the building. There's drama in the building. You know, I had all these questions here for Mark, by the way, who does a fabulous job. Hey, and me and Xander say it all the time. We love the guy coming on here. I do, actually. That doesn't mean we're going to go soft on his ass. But I do want to ask him a Cowboys perspective on this. And then we'll give Philly 500s. I'm not taking sides here on this. But don't tell me there's not shit going on in that building. Please hit the like button. Here's Mark Holmes.
Oh. Hey, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
A little bit of my show lately. Have you been watching today's show a little bit?
Your show?
Yeah.
No, man. I've been kind of busy. You know, I'm out here helping old ladies and things. What did I miss something?
Okay, so I want to throw something at you. So,
throw some shit at me.
An employee of the Philadelphia Eagles came out yesterday and is a sideline reporter of the team and is a known legendary sports talk show host named Howard Eskin came out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, Howard's big time.
And Howard came out and said this, that if Jalen Hurts does not have a great 2024 team season, they'll begin the process of Carson Wentzing Jalen Hurts.
You know,
that's an employee of the team.
Yeah. Yeah. How's it feel to be the Cowboys right now?
A lot more calmer and a lot more quieter. No, I'm not kidding here. I'm gonna show you a little bit of the drama that's gone on.
No, actually, I have been watching because, see, I was gonna say I don't need to give you my perspective because I'm just a hater. You know, I'm gonna be the one that's always gonna say that your team has got issues, like with Kellen Moore in the offense. And when they came out and said 95%, now somebody's saying it's only like 25%. Sounds like Jalen Hurts maybe sees the writing on the wall and wants to get out. He's trying to hit the eject button. He's trying to stir some shit up and maybe want to get out.
Here's some of the comments, and you broached on one of them there. So the head coach, Nick Sirianni, a couple weeks ago came out in a press conference saying that we're going to blend the old and the new. And Jalen Hurts came out and said what you said, that the offense is 95% new.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen was asked if he likes the offense. He goes, it's too soon to see right now because I'm not sure. The employee of the Eagles came out and said, no, it's 20% new. Then the employee of the team came out and said, well, what I'm hearing is that if this thing doesn't go well in 24, they'll start the Carson Wentzing of Jalen Hurts. I'm just saying to you, I mean, it just sounds to me that the Eagle front office, and you had Jeff McClain, a reporter for the Inquirer last week, going like this and saying that last week the front office was not happy with the way Hurts was not playing ball with the head coach. I mean, you are the perfect person to ask because your entire organization is built on drama.
Yes. But here's the difference, though. I think our drama.
The Eagles win?
Well, no. Just hold on for a second. I think the drama that's built up for the Cowboys is done to keep everybody talking about it. I don't know that all the drama is necessarily as real, okay? Because I think, here's the thing. If I'm Dak Prescott in this contract thing, why do I need to be pressed on this thing? I've been paid before. I'm either going to get paid by the Cowboys or I'm going to get paid by somebody else. I got the best agent that's handling this stuff. I'm playing right now because I love the sport, and I'm going to get paid big time by somebody. There's no pressure for me. This stuff that's going on, this shit feels real.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I don't see Dak Prescott having any issues and talking about Mike McCarthy or, that Micah is, throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not seeing the front office throwing the players. You got this as like a circular firing squad. Because I'm sitting there trying to understand this because didn't they cut Nick Sirianni off at the knees? Basically take the play calling and basically nobody knows what he's really doing as his job title, right?
He has.
Now they're kind of defending him because Jalen Hurts kind of said, I don't know.
Now listen.
So wait a minute. Which side are you on? Are you a Nick? Are you supporting Nick? Or are you supporting or not supporting Nick?
I'm not supporting Nick at all, but I will tell you flat out.
No, I'm at the front office.
Okay. No. I think they're supporting Nick. Now, listen what I want to do.
After you cut him off at the knees.
You make a point here that your stuff is manufactured by Jerry to keep the Cowboys relevant in the news because they haven't had postseason success, correct?
Yes, I will say that. It doesn't
you
sound
think
great,
this is real with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts?
Bro. There's no way that this shit is just spinning around and it's going to be, kumbaya moments with everybody. I don't
believe there's any kumbaya moments. I want to get Philly
it sounds like
in here.
Hurts is probably flustered from every year having to spend his summer learning a new fucking offense.
Absolutely.
I just got paid $51 million. And now I got this guy coming in here who's trying to make me a pocket quarterback with combination routes. And now I got to learn this shit.
Okay, let me get Philly 500 in here now.
Oh,
Let's bring
I was
Philly
going to
500
wonder.
in.
I was going to, you know what? How you doing, Philly?
So
doing,
why
bro?
are you talking family business with a guy that's an outsider?
You know what?
Why are we talking family business with this guy who literally is so delusional that he is now saying that everything, that all the drama that ever comes out of Cowboy land
No,
is
I didn't say all of it.
manufactured
No,
by
no.
Jerry. Let me tell you, you should be scared right now. From right
I
now
should be
till training
scared?
camp. Yeah,
Okay.
because that's when your Cowboy players land in jail, which is the only time your team is on the news. We are in
Oh, wait a minute.
Cowboys
Hold it.
go to jail time
Bro,
now.
Hold it.
That's
Did you
right.
see the clip of your
thought it
linebacker
was
get
hilarious.
walked
Absolutely
down by a
hilarious.
stripper?
Yeah. I thought it was funny. I literally watched it live. It was hilarious.
You need to cut him and sign her.
No. I thought
He ain't
I
gonna make it.
Wait a
ain't
minute.
gonna be on
I
the team
thought the
anyway.
linebacker took a role from Howie Roseman and just showed you not to pay Hassan Reddick. You don't pay the hooker. Hey, that's all right, man. You just don't pay the hooker too, man. Wait a minute.
I just think that she's faster than him. That's what bothered me the most.
That's why I say cut him and sign her. Okay.
She's fast.
Come on,
She
hey,
might
Philly,
be better
I
than Kobe
have to
Dean,
ask
bro.
you. Dude,
Yeah.
wait a minute here.
Yeah.
You see, listen, always remember something here with Mark. He'll always, he can't go back to winning. It's always about the Dallas Kardashians.
Right.
So it's nothing. But this, in my opinion, I agree with one thing he said. You know what it is? This seems real. And I want to play the timeline out here for you. 2 weeks ago, and by the way, I know that you're dumping on Sirianni as well. And Angelo Cataldi yesterday said, way to go, Jalen, for telling the truth about shit. And I do think he's telling the truth. I think he's fed up. 3 weeks ago, Nick Sirianni comes out and goes, yeah, we're going to mess the new and the old. Jalen comes out and goes, this is 95% new. Do you like the offense? He goes, too early to tell. Then you've got Howard Eskin, an employee of the team, coming out going, no, it's 20%. Dude, when you're an employee of the team and a sideline reporter, you're getting that from somebody inside the organization. Then yesterday, see, he's not a talk show host anymore. He is paid by the Eagles. He comes out and says, if they don't see a better year in 24 by Jalen, they'll begin the Carson Wentzing. I think that's a euphemism because Wentz wanted to be, he demanded a trade, but they still went out and drafted Hurts in 19. I'm going to ask you, with all of this coming out in this offseason here, do you personally think that meltdown and the internal structuring of how that happened, you think this thing is not carried over, at least into the offseason with all this noise? Hey, shut up, Mark. You have nothing to sit on here with that Cowboy thing.
I'm just enjoying, bro. I'm just enjoying the implosion. Okay, you know what? I'll tell you what. Before he answers, I'm a hater, so don't take my word for it. Because I know people are trying to spin this, okay? So let me just play a little clip of somebody who's trying to justify everything that's going on.
Don't let him play him. Mute him. Mute him.
And I know that a lot of people don't agree with me.
Mute him.
Most people don't agree with me, but that's fine. My interpretation of what Jalen Hurts said was simply this. He was not trying to trash Nick Sirianni publicly, but he also
is this guy dumb or what?
Wait a minute, Mark. Wait a minute. I don't think
he's playing a clip of me while I'm here live.
He's not lying enough.
Does that make any sense?
When he lies, they love it.
Does this make any
And
sense?
then
This
what
guy's
do?
playing a clip
They'll
of me.
protect it at all costs.
You got to
They'll
mute this
protect
shit.
the lie,
Okay.
but they won't give you.
So I'm going through here, Philly, and using what you say, where you're trying to spin.
Why are you talking? Why are you speaking?
Why am I speaking?
Yeah. Why are you speaking?
Because I was brought on here to speak.
Mark,
let him answer
while I'm frigging here to answer the question. Explain that to me.
Go ahead, Philly. Go ahead. I want to
It's
hear.
ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, I mean, dude could cherry picks videos all day of me. Listen, the situation with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts is this. I really think the Eagles spilled the beans with this whole thing because I think they reacted to what Jalen Hurts said in a way they didn't need to. And I didn't even believe that until a day or two, until Howard Eskin comes out. You are right. Howard Eskin works for that organization. Now, I don't believe his threat. I just think he's talking out his ass.
No, Philly, don't you think? I said this, Philly.
But the fact that they're letting him go out there and say something, there's a reason why.
Listen, I agree with you, and I'm going to tell you what I think they did, because Jeff McClain last week also reported from the Inquirer. I was just telling Mark that they went like this. By the way, I'm going to get to your fucking ass too with that Dak deal, and all you guys sitting around with the Cowboys. Hang in here for a second.
Okay, we'll get to it.
But the one thing that McClain did say, that they were pissed off. Maybe this was a subtle shot across the bow here, Philly, where they went like this to Jalen: play along, go along, or you may be moved along. And it's an idle threat. It doesn't mean that they're going to, but they're letting him know through an employee who goes on. That's the flagship station, a 50,000-watt station of the Philadelphia Eagles, where a guy, hey, Philly, they tell the coaches and the players to retract comments and to quantify their statements. You're not going to have this guy go out there and retract something if it's not real? He's the employee of the team.
Listen, there's no way Howard Eskin, who always is an apologist for the Eagles, comes out and says something if there's not something to it. Like, I think the front office was pissed off about the comments Jalen Hurts made, but I think they totally overreacted. And I also think that this thing was much more of a media question, and they gave it a lot of validity by coming out and leaking that they're upset. When it was leaked out that the Eagles front office wasn't happy, I shoot it. But when Eskin comes out and says it, then I think there's teeth to it on some level. Now, I don't think they're going to get rid of Jalen Hurts or anything like that. I don't think it really matters. I think Eskin is saying something to basically say that the organization isn't pleased with Jalen Hurts not having Nick Sirianni's back good enough, which I don't understand at all. And I don't understand how they could be upset at Jalen Hurts for saying what he said. He did not say anything wrong. And
hey,
if you
Mark,
look at
what
that
are you
original
laughing
question,
at? The organization, the organization of the Eagles is going through what winning happens when things happen and you're so close. You know what happened with you guys? You guys go along the same way. Right. Nothing.
You know,
and the only thing you argue over is contracts.
That's true. We argue over
you don't argue over wins.
You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting right now? You know where my quarterback is? He is at tight end U, where all the great tight ends are all working out and everything else.
What quarterback?
You know where Jalen Hurts is working out right now?
Contract extension.
Okay, but that's okay. He's going to be fine one way or the other.
Into the final year of their year with no contract extension signed.
Dak Prescott has before.
Dak Prescott
franchise tag
is going into the season with no. Can you name
bro.
Another quarterback in the last 5 years
that's the Cowboy
went
way,
into
bro.
a regular season with no deal?
Bro,
none.
The Cowboys have probably used more franchise tags than any other team in the NFL. D-Law, franchise tag, last year's deal.
Oh. You act like they're so great with what they're doing, but you never
like it or not like it. This is the Cowboys' way of doing business.
I love it. I will
guarantee you this. I will guarantee you this.
Here we are talking money.
Mike is not going anywhere. CD's not going anywhere. Dak's not going anywhere. At least
the problem with the Cowboys is they are afraid to make the tough cuts. You know,
you ever see
bad today?
You ever see a guy talk about somebody else's money so much as this guy?
Let me show you something, Mark. You know what the problem with the fucking Cowboys is? Those guys. The problem with the Cowboys, they're afraid to make the tough cuts. And I'm going to show you why. You know what New England did? Richard Seymour had a lot of Hall of Fame football left. What did the Patriots do? They went like this. You're out. He went to Oakland, and he ended up becoming a Pro Bowler. You know what they did to Stephon Gilmore? You want a deal? You were just named the coach, the corner of the year, defensive player of the year. They moved him to Carolina. Dude, they make the tough
New
cuts.
England.
Look at what Kansas
City
ain't New England. They move off his speed. You guys don't move off anybody.
I'm rooting for Dallas to sign all these guys. Sign them to the most money you can.
Be a 6-win
please. That's the funny thing. Cowboy fans understand. We want you to sign Dak. We want you to sign these guys because
Well,
you
here's
are
the
going to
difference,
pay
at
top
least.
dollar. You can't even figure out how to sign a guy with $59 million cap it. How are you going to deal with him at $65 million?
Okay. Here's what's interesting here. Here's
Waiting on
what's
the answer.
interesting right here. At the moment, your quarterback is in drama class. And at the moment, you're not sure if he is the Jalen Hurts of 2 seasons ago or if he's freaking Carson Wentz. It's not my words. I'm not the one that's saying Carson Wentz, but I remember saying to you, what if he's like Carson Wentz, a one-year wonder, Philly? And you know I said that to you before. You are the same guy going into that season that said, I'm not sure about Jalen Hurts, and he has one good season.
You say that about every
and you think he's the greatest quarterback of all. Oh, hold on.
Marcos has lines just with
I let you talk, bro.
Fill in the name.
Philly, I let you talk, bro.
Yeah, you let me talk. You put a video, audio.
Let me talk. Oh, it's not so much fun when the shit's on the other foot, is it, son?
What does that mean?
You are so mad.
You haven't said anything relevant.
Dan, I don't know that I've seen you so passionate about people shitting on people.
You really don't have a lot of room to talk about because that fucking organization hasn't done dick in 35 years.
Yep. But I will tell you, here's my
the reason I really think your opinion matters is because you know about drama.
I understand it completely.
The Eagles haven't had to deal with.
I believe I said when I first started coming on here, our 2 teams right now are in the same boat. We got questions at coach.
No. Eagles are better off.
Yes.
By far.
You had an epic collapse, bro. What was it, 39-9? What was that? What was the game against Tampa Bay? You got destroyed.
Remember, you want to talk playoffs now, huh? Now you want to talk playoffs?
To be the Super Bowl
talk
favorite, Philly.
When it suits you.
Philly.
When it suits you, do you talk playoffs? Otherwise, you avoid playoff talk like the plague.
Bro, I said, and if you want to go back to the tapes, we can go back to the tapes. Both of our teams have a lot to prove. And I said, the arrogance that you guys have that everything is great. We are a great organization. I said there's a lot of questions about what's going on. What Jalen Hurts do you have?
How are you talking about? Same boat as the Cowboys.
Nobody said we were
better than
did either of us win the Super Bowl last year?
I don't understand.
That football team has signed all of their guys.
Yeah, they have,
all of their contracts done.
All my guys are under contract right now, too. They are here for this year. They're here for this year.
Goes out and tries to win.
And I can look at it and say, take a look at your cap in 2028, where you're over about $200 million right now. As you're questioning whether or not you should Carson Wentz.
He just said 2028. Why are you talking about the Eagles' 2028 cap number when you can't even talk about the 2024 cap number of the Dallas Cowboys? You can't talk about your own team. What about your team's cap number this year? You've done shit. Hey, nice running back. Get him a cane.
And guess what, Philly? I know you're too chicken shit to show up in Dallas to see your Eagles get their lunch handed to you. But I bet you that my team ends up finishing better than yours, son.
Your team ain't going to. You're finishing third. You'll be a third place finish.
You'll be behind the Commanders,
bro. Okay, you want to come? Well, why don't you come to Dallas and laugh?
You guys will come to Dallas and I'll bend over. Get the hell out of here.
What?
You're going to be behind.
Don't put your ass fetishes on me, bro.
Oh, listen to Mark. He's crazy. This guy's literally just.
You're the one talking about people bending over.
You talked about pay. Are you going to pay Dak Prescott $60 million?
Yeah, they will. They will. That's going to be the going rate, bro. Start. Look, Trevor freaking Lawrence getting $55 million. Are you kidding me? Tua's going to get 56,
and do you
57.
think they'll win?
Well, you know what? If everybody has to do it, it's the same thing. Because guess what? You may end up having to get rid of Jalen Hurts and taking dead money hits, bro.
We ain't getting rid of Jalen Hurts.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what the 49ers did. I'm going to pay a guy $800,000 to get the same results. I'm not going to pay a guy $55 million. And I actually like the kid down in Jacksonville, but not that much.
I don't like. Hey, bro. I didn't think he was going anywhere near that kind of money, but it is what it is. The NFL is going to be printing out money, bro.
The question is why did the Dallas Cowboys wait until the last second to sign these guys? Why would you allow all these guys to be
That's what they
signed?
do, bro. You're
Why?
asking a leopard to change their
So you
spot.
mean your genius
That's the way-
organization
Bro,
that's so genius
that
with
goes
Jerry
all the
Jones
way back
planning
to
for you to
Emmett
stay
Smith,
relevant?
bro. It
And
goes
that's
back
why
to
you
Emmett
haven't
Smith.
won in 30. That's why you have not won in 30 years. And that's why you
Oh
won't
my
win
God.
for another
And
30
so
years.
you finally win your one
That's right.
Super Bowl, and
No,
now
so
you
see,
guys are
look,
Super Bowl experts.
No.
Am I right
Hey,
on that?
nobody said
Oh
anything
my
about Super
God.
Bowl expert.
The Eagles,
I
that
just
they
have
know
simply made a
everything, and that's
statement.
why they're
Look at
literally
this.
imploding.
This guy's so jealous that the Eagles are relevant in today's world and the Cowboys aren't. It's ridiculous. Like I said, the Cowboys haven't won 30 years. He gets so mad. He's like, oh, all you guys do is brag about one Super Bowl. I didn't just say anything about our Super Bowl.
It's a good,
Said
it is a
nothing
good
about it.
question by Philly. What could you possibly be talking about on a daily
what?
basis when you're a Cowboy guy and you're a creator of content? You know what? I'll tell you what.
Oh, there's
I get-
plenty to talk about. There's
What the
always
drama-
Yeah,
plenty
Dak
to talk
Prescott.
about.
Every
Speculation
video is
on
Dak
everything.
Prescott.
Are we all in? Are we not all in? Is Jerry
You know
Jones
why
and his
I'm
Oh, it's
hard on the
everything
Eagles.
Dak.
You know why I'm hard on the Eagles? I'll tell you why, Mark. Because
Why?
everything that you guys do in Dallas is the things that stop you from winning. And right now, there's a little bit of that going on in Philly,
There's a
which
lot
is
of that. going on.
uncharacteristic,
Listen,
right, Philly?
Listen.
It's
We're not.
uncharacteristic.
Yeah, we're not perfect, and they don't do everything right that I think that they should do.
I never said
would've
they
fired
believe me.
Sirianni.
I'm critical
would've
on them and tell them
fired-
they're doing stupid
I
shit.
would have fired Nick Sirianni last year. I have said this. I think, and I worry about this being a problem going into this year. However, at least my team goes out and they make plays to go out and get better. They get guys. They retain guys. And I have stuff to talk about. Mark literally has to do
So
7
at this
videos
moment,
a day,
okay,
and it's undercover Dak videos. All he does.
Right now.
Okay, let me talk now. You said to me, let me talk. You make 8 videos a day, and they're all about Dak Prescott. Literally all. And even if it's not titled, it always comes back to Dak Prescott. You got to get off the guy's balls. Get off his balls.
Okay.
He has not won anything.
Okay.
Anything.
Okay. All right. I listen.
So you
I
talk
hear
about Trevor Lawrence,
Okay,
right?
all right.
And you're like, oh, Trevor Lawrence only has 1 playoff win. He has 1 less playoff win than Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Let that
I hear
sink
you.
in.
Okay. Now let me. Okay. Can I? Let me play a little clip.
Oh,
And
here
I
we
want
go.
you-
Mute
just a
him.
little clip.
Mute him.
And I want you to answer because see, this is not for me.
Mute him.
Because I'm a hater. I'm going to tell you, I hate the Eagles. I am going to trash talk it. I will take it out of context.
That's why I like you.
But here's the thing.
That's why I like you, because you're.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, this is your own people talking about your team and where they are. My first question is do you think that your team is better than the Cowboys right now?
Yes. I don't even need to wait for the clip.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's do this.
I go ahead, play it. But of course they are. I think Dallas takes.
Hold on. Listen, just listen, Philly.
You do not have a good
time.
running game. Okay, go ahead.
So you think there's nothing to it? That a sideline reporter and a employee of the Eagles is going out on a 50,000 watt powerful WIP, and that's a nothing burger. Xander said it the other day on June 17th. That Hurts comment with all this stuff is not
Just
adding
listen,
up.
son.
Hurts saying the offense is 95% new. What's his name coming out saying, wait, it's not. It's about 20% new. Hurts
Just
saying,
listen,
I don't know
son.
what the role is of the head coach. Now you're having a guy come out saying they're going to start the process of looking for a new quarterback after this year if he doesn't have a good year. All of this noise does not resemble the meltdown of last year. You never addressed it because of the most important thing that you did do. You didn't change the culture in your locker room. That's what Philly's been saying, though, about Sirianni. He wanted him fired at the end of the year. That's the culture.
Okay. And you don't see that as a problem that automatically you're going to be able to just get past that? And that you're a great team with all these problems?
I think it's not all these problems. I think that's a potential issue. I do.
Yeah.
But, that's why they also got new offensive.
This is a 30-year issue, Philly, with them.
Right. Ever since the cap, that team hasn't done anything. Ever since they've.
But you know what? Here's what I will say. At least
they haven't done anything.
At least I can say that my offensive coordinator, the play caller, and my quarterback are on the same page in an offense that they have already been in for a year.
They haven't played one snap yet. There has not been one.
They
snap.
had the same system
practice,
last
in
year.
preseason.
I will say that the learning curve
right now in
No,
Dallas.
what I'm saying
the
is
learning
you
curve
don't know how
is
Kellen
going to
Moore's
be a lot
relationship-
different for you guys
You
starting
don't know
over
how
with
Kellen
Moore.
Moore and Jalen Hurts' relationship is. They haven't played a
Oh,
snap
Lord.
yet. I mean, why am I supposed to assume that Jalen Hurts is going to be having a bad relationship with Kellen Moore because you didn't like Kellen Moore in Dallas? I don't understand it. He hasn't played one
Overrated.
snap. And let me tell you something. Yes,
Okay.
there's issues with Jalen Hurts and maybe how he feels about Nick. And the Eagles overplayed their hand. Yeah, all true. But at the end of the day, I'm more concerned about how Jalen Hurts' relationship with Kellen Moore is than Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni has been neutered, okay? And that's just the truth. So I'm more worried about the relationship between Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts.
Let me throw this at
than
you here.
anything else.
And Philly, I want you to comment on this. And this is to you, Mark, here about the last 50 starts for Dak Prescott. And this $60 million potential number. I want to compare something. And by the way, again, I get it. When the conversation of postseason comes up, the postseason obviously is something that elevates your game and who you are. But listen to the last 50 starts. Patrick Mahomes,
I already know
36 and 14. Dak Prescott, 33 and 17. Passes touchdown, 105. Dak Prescott, 105. INT, 39 for Mahomes, 38 for Dak. Passer rating, 98.9 for Mahomes, 101.3 for Dak. Yards per attempt, 7.5 for Mahomes, 7.6 for Dak Prescott. Completion percentage, 68.8 for Mahomes, 68.4 for Prescott. So in the last 50 starts, the Cowboys are getting
not getting playoffs.
Mahomes-type numbers. And it's regular season. And you're paid on your numbers. You're not paid on wins when it comes to NFL contracts. So is this why he'll get that $60 million? And to you, Philly, do you think those numbers don't tell the true story of who he is?
You know,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, he's
is it going to be
playing
my
Dak
turn?
Prescott.
Okay.
Hey,
Before I
Dak's
get to
playing
that,
Mahomes football.
Before I get to that, I want to just revisit one question that's kind of weird. In this dynamic where the coach and the quarterback aren't getting along, didn't you have a similar situation with Carson Wentz where he literally didn't talk to the coach, I think, for 8 months or something like that? At some point, you have to wonder what's going on here, this dynamic that the quarterback and the coach don't get on the same page.
I thought it was more the coach and the GM than it was Wentz and the coach with Doug. Am I wrong, Philly?
Yeah, I think Carson and Doug, Doug had his back, I think, till the end. I mean, Doug did everything he could. The issues were more, I think, maybe Howie and Carson than anything else.
So is that a front office versus the field hands issue? Something that's been carried over now to this regime.
And that's something that my friend Xander Krause brought up, was that maybe this is collateral damage from Wentz and also the firing of Doug and the control that the front office has. Now, to Philly's point, one thing is for sure, this is uncommon for how the Eagles in this offseason is going here. And because of what happened, remember something, you played your best ball last year, the Cowboys, and still murdered. They played their worst ball in 3 years. That team looked like that 4-win team, but yet won 11 games and backed. Here's the difference. They backed out of the playoffs. You backed into the NFC East.
But remember the promise of what everybody thought the Eagles were going to that season? Coming off the
it's like
after all of the moves that you made, the same stuff everybody said about the Cowboys. They don't care about winning. They're not going out and getting players and yada, yada, yada. They stink. Nobody looked and said that team should be in the Super Bowl from what they did in the offseason. The Eagles, you guys had best offensive line, great wide receiver core, young stud quarterback, a defense that was supposed to be really, really good that turned out to be really, really ass. I'm not trying to say this as a hater. I'm looking at saying you guys were projected to be great and you ended up being average. We were projected to be average and we ended up being average.
We weren't average. We were historical.
Actually, I will say
we were
losing the way you did down the stretch.
No,
you were below average.
We were historical. We started 10-1.
Super chats. Thank you, guys.
We started 10-1, and we looked like a team that just never quit. And then we totally fell off the face of the earth.
Just quit.
It's one of those weird historical things.
You know what aggravates me?
That happens every so often. What?
You know what aggravates me is
what's that?
Besides
Mark. Eagles front office.
That's not okay. That's a true thing too, because Howie's a Gator, so I won't lie. Now, but I've just like walked away from all the incompetence of 30 years and just
throwing it on the Eagles.
Wait a minute. So when it's January, what do you talk about in February? Skiing trips?
I could tell you.
Same old Cowboys. We choked.
No, January's usually Mark's January it's about 2 months of it's not Dak's fault. We will blame everybody else but Dak.
Okay.
That's it. So he goes into Dak to Dak save. No, I mean seriously, Mark, you sit there. I heard you talk about Lamar Jackson, and one of your arguments about Lamar Jackson was that he doesn't win in the playoffs. But like, how can you bring that up and throw that?
I said he's in the same spot as Dak Prescott.
You hold everybody else to those
usually he's been injured going into the playoffs.
But you don't hold Dak to those standards. You only hold the people that make your argument about Dak better. Listen, ask everybody in the chat. Does Mark hold Dak Prescott accountable? And I bet you 90% of people say no.
Bro, I point that out because people will say Lamar Jackson is head and shoulders above Dak Prescott. And I point out his playoff record is only one less loss than Dak Prescott's. So when I say, if you're saying that he's great, you can't turn around and say that this guy sucks ass.
But you can't
go around and say Trevor Lawrence deserves to get paid $55 million and Dak shouldn't get paid anything.
Why? Why doesn't he? Why doesn't Trevor Lawrence deserve it? Based upon playoffs, he has one less playoff win than Dak.
You mean that one less win than he threw 4 interceptions?
Mark, he has one less playoff. And what about Dak's interception?
How many times has he been a runner-up in MVP?
How
many turnovers has that guy had in his career here? That he is second in the NFL. Second in the NFL.
You said Trevor Lawrence didn't deserve the money. He only has one playoff win.
When you look at what his body of work versus Dak Prescott, has Trevor Lawrence had any numbers anywhere close to Pat Mahomes'?
Mark, he's already got half the wins.
Okay.
Hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask this question, Mark.
He avoids the question.
I'm not avoiding the question.
He's like he goes into
one time out of 3 years.
Mark, if
if
Jalen Hurts was a starting quarterback in Dallas, how many wins would they have this year?
Wait a minute. Say that again.
If Jalen Hurts was a starting quarterback in Dallas, how many wins would they have this year?
With the running game we have, we would have a losing season.
If Dak Prescott was the starting quarterback, in Philly,
you would be doing a lot better than with Jalen Hurts because at least he knows Kellen Moore's system.
I disagree.
He understands combination routes and everything else.
More. I disagree.
Of course you disagree. Bro,
you think he throw for 5,000 yards?
You have those green-colored glasses when you literally think that your secondary is going to be better than the Cowboys.
It is going to be.
You don't have any credibility when you say some stupid shit like that.
Listen, dude, you can't talk about credibility when you sit there and you make excuse after excuse about the same guy. You would rather Dak Prescott be on the Cowboys and lose than the Cowboys win. It's the truth. I'm sorry. I say this to you all the time.
If we had a better option.
You make nothing but listen, Dak Prescott on the Eagles, you know what, Sills? They probably don't get out of the first round of the playoffs. There's nothing about Dak Prescott that has showed me that he can win those big games. So until I see it like Kirk Cousins, to me, he is not a big game quarterback.
That team 3 years ago, that Cowboys team 3 years ago had a ton of talent on it.
They did, but here's the problem. At least as I see it. Okay,
here you go, and it's everybody else but Dak. Watch this. Watch this.
You know, you have to learn. You have to learn to win. Bottom line, And for whatever reason, they have a mental block and things like that. Now, with that being said, the thing that I wish the Cowboys were more Eagle-esque is when you guys lose a player during the season, you are out there hunting to try and fill that gap in there. When I see you go out and get a Robert Quinn, even though that one didn't work out, or Ndamukong Suh, you say we have a need because we lost a player. The Cowboys don't do that. We lost Overshown, who was a rookie in training camp.
They're horrible at free agency.
Yeah, and we got Leighton Vander Esch that we all know is one hit away from being gone. They lose him in week 3, and we never replace it.
Mark, Mark, here's the problem. You build your team like you're still in the 90s by looking at the draft as being more of a priority than where you can get players in free agency and fill. Here's what they don't do. Their core group of guys, they've overestimated them. And here's what I mean by that. Look, I think I get killed on this one too. Personally, I think that Micah is a good player. Is he a $35 million? Is that Joey Bosa when I look at him impact? I don't see that. But on a better team with better defensive tackles, he's probably that guy. Yes. But on that defense that can't stop the run, he wears down. And by the end of the year, you know what you have? A finesse ball player
that can't make plays, and that is the Cowboys' failure by the time they get to playoffs.
I gotta call bullshit.
Philly. Yeah, you know what? I hear all the shit that you want to put it all in
bullshit.
It's all bullshit. See, it's the same thing.
All these excuses are just wrapping all these things. It's the front office. They don't know guys when they're injured. It's all wrapped around protecting Dak. Let me ask you this: Green Bay versus Dallas in Dallas. Dallas is second seed. Did CeeDee Lamb play? Yes, he did.
He did.
Why did it look like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb never played?
I don't know where his mind was because he was literally checked out in the beginning.
I'll tell you what happened. Dak Prescott, big game. That's what happened.
Okay, if you say so.
He choked.
I believe that, Mark. But Mark, it did look like they had a conflict between the two of them.
They did, and I don't know what the hell was going on because CD was just kind of like, I'm just kind of.
Wasn't he going? What's going on? To me, it looked like what's going on.
And CeeDee Lamb's mom even came out and said, "What? That Dak Prescott's trash." I mean, come on, man. I mean, we all know it. Your quarterback has to show he can win in a big game. That's it.
Here's the interesting thing about that one is, evidently he don't listen to Mama because if he wanted out of Dallas, he wouldn't be holding out for a new contract. Because if he gets a new contract, he ain't going anywhere.
Why would I leave the Cowboys when I'm making $60 million a year?
Dak will be going. He knows Dak. He knows Dak's days are numbered. I mean, I don't think Dak's got long.
And you know what? If I were Dak Prescott, I would love to be in the position that he's actually in.
Oh God, I don't. I want Dak to stay in Dallas. Please stay in Dallas. It means that you're not winning.
Mark, I'll tell you what. Here's the advantage on both ends of that with Dak. If I'm Dak Prescott, say I don't win, I'm going to make more money in Dallas because you know why? I'm the biggest movie star in America because I am the most watched guy on TV. That doesn't mean I'm going to win. But if I want to go to Tennessee and I want to go to some of those places, I'm not making the exposure money that I make. You've got to get out of Dallas if you're Dak. If you want to win, you got to get out of Dallas.
Right, and that would be the move to make. Is I need a team kind of like what the Rams did. I need a ready-built team that actually is going to support the quarterback and do.
I can't wait.
The 49ers.
I don't want to say it. You know, like the 49ers do, bringing in people like the Eagles try to do. Unfortunately, now you got a little bit of drama with all these hired hands.
It'll all.
But I stick by my prediction of the Eagles going 8-9 this season.
You know, there's nothing wrong.
Philly.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll make a bet about that. Let's bet that. I'll bet that. Eagles go 8-9. Now, Eagles will have at least 9 wins or more. Easy. So I'll bet you we'll make that bet. I like that bet.
Mark, I ask you though, where are you getting your run game, and who's your 2 and 3 wide out? And your old line is not the same. You've got a new center, and I like the pick from K-State.
Here's the misnomer.
This ain't the Big 12, dude. This is
I hear what you're saying, but bro, our offensive line has been in flux since Travis Frederick had Hillian bars. Our offensive line has not been like the Eagles, which has been stout. I have to give you credit. You have an incredible offensive line. But remember, we brought in Jason Peters at the point where he couldn't play more than 15 plays in a game and had to have him as a starter. We've had
they get ahead of that problem in Philly.
Okay.
Like everybody doesn't have injuries.
Wait a minute. Mark, they get ahead of that problem. They get ahead of that problem. Here's the two things
that's where hopefully they're getting ahead of it now. If it ends up working out.
And they signed your guys.
Well, we've signed all of our free agents, guys.
You got no free agents. What are you talking about?
We just signed two.
Look at what they did. Look at what they did. They signed AJ Brown.
Mark just went in shutdown mode right there.
Restructured Jordan Mailata, signed Bryce Huff, and they did all this while you guys are still waiting around for CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons. It's June 19th. You got 34 days.
They will all be playing this year. I can guarantee.
Yeah, but
that.
Mark,
later in the year, favorite player.
Is Eagle fans want Dak Prescott?
Your idea is doing it this way, okay? Because see, here's the thing I can say is I can look at a move like what the Cowboys did and bringing in somebody like Malik Hooker, as opposed to you guys going out and getting your big name safeties, Big Play Slay and Bradbury and all these guys. I can look at how much the Cowboys actually played Malik. I know they're corners, but I'm just saying in free agency. I can look and say that Malik Hooker has been an incredible free agent for the Cowboys for 3 years. And I can look and see how much money you got tied up with these guys. And you're like, do we want to keep these old ass guys? Can we trade them? Do we need to cut them? You're dealing with all the drama. Not every free agent move that you've made has been great.
But they've been financially responsible.
You can laugh about, our free agent signings of UFL.
Mark, you're missing the point. The Eagles are financially responsible. You're not. The longer you wait, the higher market price you're paying.
Bro, but you got a ticking time bomb that's going to happen down the road.
What's that? What's that ticking time bomb?
Well, if Jalen Hurts, if it is going to be Carson Wentz, I know, Dan, you say if you can find somebody to trade for him, that'll trade for that contract. I don't know that somebody is going to if he implodes this year.
Let me tell you something about Howard Eskin. Howard Eskin does work for the Eagles, and he does. The fact that he said something probably means that the Eagles weren't happy about something, but he makes outlandish comments. I mean, saying that he's like Carson Wentz is ridiculous. I don't believe that for one instant, because if anybody goes, it's going to be Nick Sirianni before Jalen Hurts. If we're talking about a bad season, it's going to be Nick Sirianni that goes. He's going to take the weight of it no matter what.
Why are they protecting him so much, Nick Sirianni?
Because they're not protecting him, Dan. I think they're protecting their ego. I think they're protecting their decision.
I think they wanted
to fire
your quarterback under the bus.
Wait, what?
$50 million. That's why I'm paying you $50 million. You need to play along.
The reason why the Eagles were upset.
Then you're going to make him look like ass.
They wanted Jalen Hurts. They wanted Jalen Hurts to go out there and give Nick,
I agree,
more of a voucher,
being
and
a team
he did it. And so they were upset. But if they just would have not said anything,
Philly,
and just let it die, nobody would have forgotten.
Mark, Philly, we're going to wrap this up here. But Philly, this is what I think happened. It was poor timing, because during the season, I want my quarterback throwing people under a bus, and I want some shit being said about guys and coaches not happening. On June 17th, the other day when that was said, you needed a guy to play along and go, hey, Nick's doing a great job. He's overseeing everything.
That's what they wanted.
It was poor timing. And you got to do shit sometimes when you're a quarterback. And this is what I think Dak does pretty well. One thing Dak does well, man, he tries not to create as much drama in that building as possible for the Cowboys, where they can have drama every day. Look at this guy. This guy's going to create 17 fucking videos of drama if they could. But he tries to at least suppress that. They wanted Jalen. And I agree with you, Philly. They wanted Jalen to go out there instead of saying, I don't know what Nick's role is as a head coach. They wanted him to go. He's overseeing everything. I think personally it was poor timing. And I think this aggravated, like Jeff McClain said last week. And I think they threw a cannonball across the table about him to get him online going, you need to play along here.
Well, a few days ago, so I was like, yeah, the front office
Yeah.
upset. I was like, whatever. But when Howard came out and made his comments, then I knew that there has to be
Agreed.
something to it. I don't know what level, but there's something to it. I think it's June. I also think there's not a lot going on. You get in a camp, you get in a preseason, you get in a game, you win games. All this stuff quickly goes away.
But this isn't media made, Mark. Hey, Philly.
No, I don't think it's
player. This is player talking at a press conference.
I think initially it was media made, but then the Eagles gave it validity.
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the problem.
They could have just ignored it, and it wouldn't be anywhere near as big as it
go away.
is.
I agree.
And it was just like, wait a minute, now why are you throwing the quarterback?
But this is what Philly says about them protecting their identity, Mark. This is the one thing that the Eagles are now going through that I think gets in the way a little bit of their success this year is the shit that gets in the way of yours, which is this. They allowed something to fester and then they expanded it, which they didn't need to. They didn't need to have that conversation about, hey, wait a minute. No, the coach, it's old meshing of the new. And Jalen's going, no, this is a brand new offense. I think Jalen was telling the truth. But the ownership didn't want Nick to look bad because of what Philly said. This goes back to Doug. They've got to validate
exactly
that guy.
Right. Exactly. They let Doug go after winning a Super Bowl, going 3 straight playoffs, and then Nick Sirianni goes to the Super Bowl last year. They didn't want to look like, wow, we fire these guys really quick. So they didn't fire Nick. I believe that's one of the main reasons why they didn't fire Nick, was because they didn't want to look like a team that is willing to cut their losses with a coach very quickly.
See what he's saying?
Oh, am I part of this conversation?
Wait, the Eagles don't like drama. You do.
Oh, Jerry says, I like to stir shit up.
But that gets in the way of your success.
You're preaching to the choir, but you know what?
I hate when you do that because you just let that go by because you're a Cowboys.
Bro, you've been
the only place in America that winning doesn't matter is Dallas, Texas.
Bro, you've been married for a long time, and I'm sure you love your wife to death. But
sometimes.
There's some shit about her that you can't stand. But you take the good.
I've never met a person I dated more and I loved more in my life.
There you go.
My 34-year marriage to my wife. Okay?
There you go. See? And that's what I'm saying. I can't say I like everything the Cowboys do. I don't. Believe me, I want to see them win. I would like to see the Cowboys sign more free agents.
But when I was younger, I was 27 pounds and I had 3 Super Bowl rings and I was winning all those. Those days are long gone. I'm a fat old guy now, man. That shit's gone. I forgot all about that guy. Don't you get tired of talking about yourself when you were 22 years old?
Nope.
That's what the Cowboys are.
Nope.
Hey, man, we were really good back in the day when MySpace was a thing.
Yeah. That was before MySpace.
It was before MySpace. I don't even think they had YouTube yet, right?
All right. Billy,
I had fun with this.
They can find you, bro.
You just type in Philly 500 or Philly 500, knock it out, Mark Holmes, and I will come up right away.
Mark Holmes, tell folks how they can find your
Just look for Philly 500's daddy and you'll find me. No, actually, go Boost Sports Report. And hopefully we'll be in training camp with Dan Sileo broadcasting, and definitely.
Hey, Mark, do me a favor, text me, and I'll set that because we're going to set the Cowboys and the Rams thing up if you want to do that.
Do they have joint practices?
Yes, they're going to have joint practice.
Hey, Billy, if you want to come down, I'll get you a hotel room down there around the corner. They got hotel rooms, the Cowboys do, that they give me a couple rooms for my friends if we go there and broadcast. So you can hang out there. Bring your kid down if you want.
Okay, we definitely need to do that.
We'll let you know. All right. Yeah.
But
wait a minute. Are you gonna blow us off? Or you because Philly's he's not that he can get down there. It's a car ride for him. It's a jaunt.
I'll see.
I'm talking you, dude. Because Philly tells me you bail. He'll do this. He'll set a bet up, and then 24 hours before, all of a sudden you come down with malaria.
He bails or changes it.
That's some bullshit there. Okay.
Mark edits. Sorry. Mark is an
that's
editor.
some bullshit. Okay. I will send you my flight information for when I'm just waiting for the practice schedule to know exactly when we're going to be coming. The Rams game, I believe, is the 10th of August. I'm not sure.
If Dak Prescott has a bad practice. I can't wait. The video that I wait the most for is the day that the Cowboys and Dak cut ties. I want to see that video that Mark makes.
Yep.
It is going to be
Cooper
epic.
Rush.
Going
is
to
the
be
guy?
epic.
Cooper Rush.
Well, apparently it's not going to be Trey Lance because Trey Lance has been looking like
I
I
don't
thought
know.
he'd take advantage of this time. He didn't.
he's looking like T.O. Hurts.
I think it's too early to say these things. Like we don't know yet, to be honest. It's
Or is
summer.
it
Let's
Jalen
get
Owens?
to
Which
camp.
one is it?
Let's get to camp. You know.
Is it Jalen
wait,
Owens?
you don't think he's like that Jamarcus Russell?
On the scissor.
You got to drink that grape tang.
Yeah, the scissor. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
man. Billy, thank you,
You got
so
it.
much for finding
Thank you, man.
Hit the like button,
Appreciate it, bro.
people.
I
200
really
likes.
appreciate you guys.
Thank
I
you.
love you guys very much. Don't forget, Mark Holmes does a great job covering the Dallas Cowboys. Also, our boy, Philly 500. Hit the like button. You guys were spectacular. Just great stuff. Hit the like button. Xander Krause will join us at the bottom of the hour. Don't forget, Merill Reese, the voice of the Eagles, will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Our guy Xander will join us in a couple minutes here at the bottom of the hour. And also, Merill Reese will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Before we reset, by the way, I don't know what you guys do to me, man. Hey, do I change like a chameleon. I don't know how much you guys have worn off on me here. I'm talking Eagle Philadelphia people. When anyone starts talking shit to you, I immediately defend you. I don't know what that is. I tried by the way, do you know how many times I tried stopping it? In that segment, 4. I was like, why am I doing this? I kind of agree, but I'm not going to let him say that because who the hell are the Cowboys? What have they done? Okay, it's like, what have they done? Who are you? What have you done again in the last 35 years? Bill Clinton was in the White House. What are we talking here, guy? I don't know what happened. Something overcomes me. Hey, Bob goes, Sills can bash on Philly, but nobody else can. I'm starting to think that is real. I'm starting to think that's real. I don't know what it was because he started going, yeah, what are they going? I'm like, who again are you? And I played for the damn thing for a cup of tea. Ugh. I don't know. We'll get Xander on here in a minute. Always good defending your little brother. Hey, I don't know, man. Stills has a soft spot for Philly. I'm thinking that possibly is. My wife says I really don't have a soft spot for anything other than my kid. My show. I guess maybe you. I've never had a soft spot in my life for what I was telling my audience until now. Maybe it's because you can see me. Oh, so what are you saying here? Senor, I'm just a tough guy with a mic? Is that what you're saying? Well, this may play into a little bit of that too. So let me ask you this. If I'm criticizing the Eagles for not having a plan on replacing certain players that they get rid of, what is the Jets' excuse for getting rid of Bryce Huff and not having that whole thing with Hassan Reddick at least resolved before the player was traded for? It's been reported that the owners are starting to cry about the cost of the quarterback being too expensive, so they're trying to put a cap on it. Well, welcome to collective bargaining. And I would say this to you too, disciple. You put gambling up there, we'll talk about cap, where we can make extra money. That's called collective bargaining. But remember something. I'm not going to use the term because it'll come off as racist. The owners to this day still look at the players as cattle. Okay, cattle. Let's use cattle. But they do. We have never won in any way, shape, or form a strike. It'll never happen. The contracts are not guaranteed. Do you understand? That's why the NFL owners own the players. The only people that really get big money are the quarterbacks. Nobody holds out. Hurts said what he said because he believed in Johnson. And if they were going to change the offenses, they should have used Johnson, not Sirianni. That's why. Okay. This comment here with Joe Douglas, though. So Joe Douglas makes a move. You get rid of Huff, let him walk out the building, but you haven't justified why you traded for Reddick. And you didn't know that. And you can't use the excuse the player lied to you. You had to have that resolved. You had to have that resolved. And they didn't. If that guy's not there in September playing week 1, that's Joe Douglas disaster. It's a total Joe Douglas disaster. So you let Huff walk out the building in the free agency. Right? Joe Douglas. All right. Okay. But then you didn't have a plan to replace him? And 10 sacks? Well, you better hope that he's what you thought he was, not that great a player. And he was a product of the See, Joe Douglas's opinion is Bryce Huff is a product of the defense, not Bryce Huff helping the defense have that kind of season they had a year ago, even though they sucked. He looks stupid right now. Ultra Cowboy goes, shit, getting millions is being called a slave? No. Mentality. Nobody likes to say that we own you because your contracts aren't guaranteed. And here, Ultra, you're compensated because of the television product. You're not compensated because the owners want to pay you. If you had that as the reasoning, why do you have a draft? Why do you have a salary cap? Why do you have franchise tags, transition tags? Why don't you just pay it to the highest bidder? Because the NFL wants to control that because they believe in parity. See, the NFL, unlike other leagues, believe that you're only as good as the weakest link, which means the number one team in the league, the Chiefs, and the worst team, the Carolina Panthers, have to make the same money, and they do. No other organization in professional sports league in North America has that dynamic. You know the Carolina Panthers make the same money annually every year, and David Tepper makes the same money, and the value of his team goes up the same as Clark Hunt's team in Kansas City goes up. There's no difference. Merchandising, television rights, all of them are paid the same amount of money, $375 million a year. And value goes up 19% of your team and your net wealth. And if you get a new stadium, that enhances and accentuates your wealth as well. That's how the league believes. That's why they're in court right now over that DirecTV thing. Because the Dallas Cowboys, if they wanted to charge premium prices for just Dallas Cowboy games, could make 10 times more money than, what did Jerry say? The Bengals? But he goes, that's not right. Why isn't that right? It's capitalism. No. In the NFL, it's more like feudalism. They believe that we're an organization. We're one. We're the shield. We're growing the shield. We're not growing the Cowboy brand. So, yeah. I thought some of the conversation we had. See, the difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles, this is real. This is real. This is real drama. The Cowboy stuff, I think, is more, it just seems Hollywood. It reminds me of Colorado football. Like Deion Sanders football. It looks just contrived. Doesn't look real. Conversations, all they talk about in Dallas is money. This is about direction. This is about unprecedented drama that the Eagles don't really like. I'll tell you something. Let's do this before we bring Xander up. Has there been more drama in the building in Philadelphia? You help me out and educate me. Since Doug's been fired? Has there been more drama with the Eagles since Doug's been fired? Is that a direct correlation with Howie having all the power? And one guy having all the power? Because it looked like there was some balance under even stupid Chip when he got thrown into the broom closet. Like, since Howie's been taken out of the broom closet, has there been more drama with the Eagles? Gannon, house hunting during Super Bowl week. You know me? Congratulations to you. Thank you for buying me that $10 million house in Scottsdale. Thank you, Eagle fans. I got a house in Scottsdale. All right. Yeah, get this. I heard Birds 365 and John go, it's not. It's no big deal. You got an employee of the unit. You got an employee of the team barking. You got coaches and quarterbacks barking. Fuck it. No big deal. Let's bring Xander in. It's June 17th.
What's up, Big Cells?
All right, Xander. By the way, first and foremost, Philly 500 with a knockout again. Is he undisputed?
I thought it was closer. Philly 500. I love you. I thought it was a little closer this time. It's tough to answer this if you're a Philly fan. I got to be honest. It really is. It's not a good look. And you saw it. I mean, I'm with Philly 500 on most things, but even he didn't really have a response for this. Now, I think, like you said, Dallas's position is a whole lot worse, but this does not look good. And it's what you said. I think it's shows that they didn't fix what caused them to collapse last year. Last year wasn't a talent collapse. It was something inside the locker room, and it doesn't look great. I'm not going to be honest. Or I'm going to be honest. It doesn't look great.
But here's where I might agree with him.
I'll still give the win to Philly 500, though, by the way. I thought he rebounded.
Here's something, though, that maybe we can all agree on. Do you think, because when Howard comes out and says, and I think John took it for verbatim, and I thought it was more of a euphemism that they're going to Carson Wentz him, which to me meant moving on from him in some way or form or fashion. That, hey, if Howie's so brilliant on contracts, you don't think he can contrive a deal to get a dance partner, to work a contract up, to move off of him? If he's so good at these contracts, let me tell you something about Howie. You don't think that guy has built the fail-safe for him to get out of deals?
Oh, he definitely has. If you look at the fine print, I mean, there technically is a way they could get out, but I don't think they're going to go that route because.
Okay, I agree. But how about this? Do you think it was that they really were pissed off and they told Howard Eskin, hey, guess what? If this guy doesn't want to play along with us, let me tell you something. We moved on from Doug. We moved on from Wentz. We can move on from him. Nobody is expendable here when it comes to the way we're doing business. And it was more of a message, like a smoke signal.
Right.
With I don't know how much intent, Xander, that was made for him to go, hey, fall in line, get in line, or you walk the line.
See, that's where I think you were really onto something with. And Philly made a good point, and me and John talked about this. This was really was overblown until the organization verified it by one. Jeff McClain comes out. Key figures are upset at Jalen Hurts. Who's key figures? Howie and Jeff. Those are the only key figures that you can come up with.
Only people that matter.
Right. The only people that matter are Howie and Jeff, or really Jeff and Howie. So Jeff more than Howie, though, obviously. Jeffrey Lurie, the owner. And now Howard Eskin comes out. First, he denied the 25% thing, which might show that they were also upset with that because it undermined the head coach. And now they're saying, now he comes out and says this yesterday. They're going to it's like, listen, Jalen, you better start making us look good, or else we will find a way to move on from you and make you look like the bad guy. It's kind of, it's messed up if that's what they're doing, but I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, look, they did the same thing to Doug in a different kind of way. Doug said, I'm not going to do what you guys want me to do. And they fired him. They fired him like it was easy. I think I think you're onto something there. I don't want to go there yet.
Here,
it's tough to not connect the dots though, right?
Let me do something to you here. And this is directed at you.
Yeah.
You've gotten how many calls about me from that organization on just the dumbest, stupidest, smallest shit? 5, 6?
We get a lot. We've gotten probably more than that. I mean, we get consistent calls. Yeah.
If Howard was so off base, wouldn't they demand a retraction on the flagship station of the Philadelphia Eagles and an employee of the Philadelphia? He's an employee of the Eagles. He's not employed.
He has a Super Bowl ring, Dan.
Right.
They gave him a Super Bowl ring.
Do you know that some broadcasters don't get them? Some broadcasters don't get rings.
My point is, he is obviously in cahoots with the organization.
You
and Angelo, I think it was Angelo, said the other day, like, Howard's not going to jeopardize his job at this point in his career. He wouldn't say something unless the Eagles were okay with whatever he was going to say.
You want to hear something? Brad Sham doesn't have a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, which is absurd, by the way. Brad Sham is like the Merill Reese of Philadelphia.
Right. Okay. Because they look at them wanting to control them a little more. Okay, Merrill's different. Merrill's different. He's gone through generations. It's a different thing. This guy was a talk show host masquerading as a talk show host, but now an employee of the team. They're not going to Xander, they don't even want me calling your GM a CPA, but they're going to allow that guy to come out and go like this. They're going to Carson Wentz Hurts if he doesn't have a good 24 year and not go like this to the PD. Hey, PD, man, I want that guy to go on the air and retract that. You made players last year and coaches retract all kinds of statements and quantify what you meant and to clarify what you meant. You're not going to clarify that comment?
No, it's true. Now, now I do think the Eagles probably Howard is a big mouth, like Yale says that. Howard is a big mouth. He speaks in superlatives like you do, and I think there's some of that goes into it. But the point is correct. Howard won't say something to jeopardize his job with the Eagles. What he said makes the Eagles look worse, which means the Eagles wanted it out there, or they were okay with it being out there, and Howard got the okay to run with it. Because now, I mean, what does this look like? Like, I don't know how we defend this. I'm not going to go overboard. I think if we win ball games, who cares?
Goes away.
Right now, it doesn't look great. I mean, look, I'm an Eagles fan, and I know everybody in here is. Does it not give you some pause, though, the way we ended last year?
Yes.
Like, look, I'm
it's
trying to
carried over into the offseason.
Right. Like, I'm trying to be honest about this. I hope we go to the Super Bowl. I hope we win the next 5 Super Bowls. But I am concerned that whatever it was that led to them going 1-7 last year is still prominent in the organization.
Here, you see what Steve Ike says here? It's a great take by Steve. No football talk yet? I know we've been waiting for it the entire offseason, Steve. How about that? Steve, you're right. We've been waiting for it. But the Eagles, the head coach, the quarterback, an employee of the team has come out. These are not media made. And then you got, like you said, Jeff McClain, who's a beat writer for the Inquirer that covers the team on a day-to-day basis, is not going to jeopardize his availability to be able to get in that building. They're not going to name and do shit where the organization is upset. This is not made up by us. This is people in the organization still doing this.
Like I said, I mean, I sit here and I do Birds 365. I run this channel. I'm a part of the media now, I guess you could say. I don't view myself as that, but that's how I'm going to be perceived now. I never thought this was, I felt like when I was doing the show, this is overblown. Like, this is stupid to talk about for more than a week. But once the stuff comes out about the front, about higher ups, and now Howard, now I'm like, okay, now, it's like the Hassan Reddick deal, right? Like, okay, maybe it was the right move to move on from Hassan Reddick. Then Howie goes up on the stand and he starts getting defensive. Now I'm like, now maybe he did make the wrong move there. Or like, when you get defensive about it, or you validate it with those comments, or in that case with that reaction, now I have actual pause. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be something that derails the season. But if they don't get this on track, I mean, we went 1-7 last time there was dysfunction in the organization down the stretch. So what's going to happen this year?
How about this? Do you think Jalen's behavior has caused tense feelings in the front? I'm not saying catastrophic, but do you think they've done this? This guy has gone on 2 years. We needed him last year, and now we needed him in the offseason, and we're just not seeing him play along with us. Like Nick's playing, it looks like to me, Nick's playing along.
Yeah, you know what it looks like to me?
That's why I think, to your point, why they're defending Nick more, because Nick's more of a team ball player for that front office than Jalen is. Jalen's more like Doug.
That's exactly where I was about to go. Is this the Doug Peterson treatment on the quarterback right now?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And now that I'm thinking about it,
doesn't it look like it?
It really does look like it. Now, South Jersey D says, is Sirianni the real problem the front office is trying to hide? That's kind of what I think, but Sirianni's doing the dance. He's playing a political game, right, of the Eagles, which you have to play when you're here. Doug Peterson wasn't willing to play it. Now that you said that, I don't think Jalen's the problem at all. But I'm saying I think Jalen might be upset with how they're handling, or the power structure, or all of those things.
Who's more valuable to Jeffrey Lurie right now, Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni?
gotta be Jalen Hurts, no? But here's the
You would think.
You would think, but he's the one who hires the head coaches. So maybe he feels a personal thing there where it's like, I can't fire another coach that won me an NFC title. Maybe
And
that's
we're developing the coach that we always coveted.
See, now my point is my stance on this is evolving. Brandon the Great says they are disgusting. Jalen is standing up. Now maybe Angelo really was right in a sense where Jalen is not putting up with this organization's bullshit. Now they're using Jeff McClain, they're using Howard Eskin, and they're cornering him to say, "Hey, dude, this isn't just media reaction. This is us. We're pissed at you for what you said and for not falling in line, if you will."
Let me show you something else here, and I hit on this, and I'm glad that you clarified it when I brought up ESP, that Elliot Spitzer, whatever guy, who wrote that article on Deshaun Jackson. Not to rehash that, however, so this guy was bled some intel from maybe Chip Kelly's regime, and he wrote that. And you allow that guy back into a locker room, and you allow that guy around players who have private conversations, and he hears private conversations with coaches and players. And then on top of that, you have a guy yesterday go out and say that thing about Jalen. Here's a guy on the sidelines, that hears private conversations between coaches and players. Do you trust that guy if you're the Eagles, who goes on a 50,000-watt station and barking that they're going to Carson Wentz the quarterback? You're sitting there listening to AJ talk to him. Maybe there's an in-game conversation that nobody would understand, only players would. Hey, get the fucking ball to me. And you would take that as an argument when it's really not. Do you trust that? To be able to have a guy go on the air and go, there's discord in the locker room with the coach and or the quarterback in the organization, without it being told to you.
See, here's my question on this, because you're making good points. What's the end game here?
The end game is to put Jalen either on the rails or move off him.
Yeah, but why? What does that get us?
What?
That doesn't get us anything. This
What did it
organization,
get you firing Doug?
It
lost you a Super Bowl firing Doug.
I still don't see the end game here. Other than them trying to, yeah, right. I mean, that's the only explanation I would guess at this point. I mean,
it's really sad.
I was hard on Jalen yesterday. I don't know if this is Jalen. I don't know if this. I don't know.
No. I think Jalen, what Angelo said yesterday is true.
See, look at this from Prince. This is cash right here. That's a cash comment. That sounds like Howie. I will Carson Wentz you. I'm Howie. I built this. Remember, this is a guy that had the PR department call us because you called him a glorified CPA. They threatened us over that type of comment. That's a guy who's got an ego problem and that doesn't want to be crossed. That's a good comment by Prince right there. This is Howie written all over it.
Prince,
this really does have Howie written on it.
Hey, Prince, that's right, and that's how he talks. That's how he talks. Hey, let me tell you something, guys. Did you hear the kid? Did you hear Xander? That's somebody would have a small problem with a dumbass Dan Sileo. This guy is a sand tablet in the beach. You're telling me you're going to allow all this talk to go on around your organization and not have anybody step up? Come on, man.
I want to address one more comment here, but you also asked a question earlier. Is there more drama since Doug? I would say no. Remember before Nick Sirianni.
Well, there's more control then.
Well, let me finish. Carson Wentz, there was a boatload of drama. Even Alshon Jeffrey, there was drama. There was drama well before. Even when Frank Reich departed the Eagles organization, there was some drama. When Nick Sirianni got hired, go back and watch that first press conference. All the questions were, how are you going to fix Carson Wentz? The common denominator now with a completely new regime, a new quarterback, a new core of your roster, the only common denominator is the front office. Nick Sirianni's not the common denominator. Jalen Hurts isn't the common denominator. That's why someone asked this comment. Let me bring it up. Joe Whipp, he says, guys, maybe Hurts is an issue behind the scenes. See, Joe, I've been feeling that way for the last couple days. But the more I'm thinking about this,
maybe the issue is he doesn't like what's in the building when it comes to coaching him.
well, forget the coaches. Go higher. Maybe Jalen doesn't like the entire structure of this thing.
Agreed. I don't think he does.
Is it that Jalen doesn't trust Nick, or is it that Jalen doesn't trust the input that Nick is forced to take and apply to the game plan, the roster, and all those things?
Completely, that's the case. Because you know why? The hiring of the coaches is what's causing this discord. How about this one? Just in a small little soundbite that I played of Vic Fangio on my Twitter page.
Boy, that was funny, huh?
Hey, how about this? Vic goes like this. Vic just goes like this. He goes, hey, they weren't very good last year.
Dude,
Hopefully we brought in some new coaches and players and we're a little bit better. He took a direct shot at Howie because you know why? He ain't talking about scheme. Remember what he said at his press conference? Hey, schemes don't make better defenses. Players make better defenses. He told you flat out they weren't good last year.
Flat
Had
out.
to just swing a golf club. They weren't good. Well, that's on Howie. That's not on Nick. He's not hiring defensive guys or drafting defensive guys. That just tells you what's going on in the building.
Look at this comment. I mean, I love the comments, man. I love them. They're hilarious. Mr. Perez. I love Howie. That's how you tell people you run the show. Yeah, but Perez, I'm cool with that too. If somebody wants to flex their muscles and say, hey, man, I'm boss. This is how it runs. But you got to do it in a way that works. This is a team game. This isn't an ego game. I mean, you got to make your quarterback, your coach, you got to have a whole roster and a whole team built in. These are grown men, man, making millions of dollars. It takes more than just a paycheck to get them motivated. I mean, there's a lot more to this that, goes into the leadership and all those things that Howie's not picking up if this is true. Now, this is still just speculation, but I don't know. I'm almost regretting some of my Jalen Hurts comments because people have been killing me. Why am I so hard on Jalen Hurts? I don't know, man. This might not be Jalen Hurts at all. Remember, Jalen Hurts, Angela says another thing that's good. Jalen Hurts was raised by a coach.
Yeah.
He's a coach's kid. That teaches you a lot when you're growing up. And his dad is a pretty good high school coach down there in Texas. He's not like some small ball coach. He coaches good high school teams in Texas.
His team is really good around the Houston area.
Yeah, exactly. And you know how Texas high school ball is. That's like nearly college ball down there.
30,000 kids at those
games.
Absolutely every night.
So Jalen's, he might be like, man, this bullshit. We're never going to get to where we want to go with this type of setup in this organization. But I still don't get why he wouldn't back Nick. But it's almost like now I think
frustration.
Yeah, maybe because Nick is being their lapdog for the front office.
Nick's playing along. Jalen's not. Okay.
So here's the tough part, right? As an Eagles fan. I'm sure everybody can feel for this. I don't know. Maybe look, I don't want to make maybe Howie's not the problem, but Flexen, he's been saying this. Fire Howie. Howie's the problem. See, here's the problem. An Underdog, another guy I'm not sure if he's in there right now, but he brings up a lot of good points about Howie as well. On one hand, you have these things where you're like, why is Howie running the organization the way he is? And then on the other hand, you're like, AJ Brown's locked up, Devontae Smith's locked up, Jordan Mailata's locked up. Landon Dickerson's locked up. Jalen Carter's going to be the new core replacing Fletcher Cox. Jalen Hurts is locked up. They brought in Saquon Barkley. Dallas Goedert's under contract. You're like, it's hard to hate him because you're like, he's doing a good job. But
he's too many job titles. You know what? I'll tell you what, Chris Landry, about 2 years ago, you put him on the program, and two things he said. Nobody would ever confuse Howie Roseman for a personnel man. But as a front office man, he's exceptional. And he is. This guy doesn't know where to stay in his lane. He just doesn't know where to stay in his lane. Hey, dude, get away from the coaches on Sunday.
Does Nick Sirianni suck or does Howie?
I don't know. I don't know.
This is the $1 million question.
He was awful good in Indy.
This is the $1 million question. We've all been beating Sirianni to a pulp.
I don't know if Nick's. I'll tell you what, he was a damn good play caller when Phillip Rivers was in Indy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. Look at Yale. He says we're all on acid. Yale, maybe you're right, man. I don't know. It's June 19th, and maybe we are on acid, but something's wrong with this organization. Yale, do you not agree? Yale, come on, Yale. You got to hit. You got to give me a response.
One or two things. I'm going to go with your June 17th deal. When it's 14 things and it's coming from the building and not people's mouths like mine, come on, man. You're getting employees and players and coaches doing it. Hey, the handcuffs are off us now, finally. What? Shit like that. I mean, it's guys responding on Twitter like Devontae Smith to stupid Sileo. What is going on?
See, some of the players I think don't mind or don't maybe they choose to not see it.
He embraces it because he knows how to deal with it.
Well, no, because he's getting paid, man.
Yeah, well,
I can be mad at Howie. He just gave me a second contract in 2 years for $32 million a year. I'm good. Howie can do whatever he wants. Devontae Smith's like, I got my extension early. I got $75 million guaranteed money coming to me. I'm good. All these guys are Jalen Hurts. I mean, he might be pissed, but he's like, my bag of money's coming. I mean, what better way to keep a group of professional grown men making millions of dollars a year not be pissed at you? You pay them. Pay them.
Okay, fuck it. I'll take it. Hey, you gave me the greatest topic the last 2 days. I'd never get off this fucking contract. They're tied to this thing. So I called the NFLPA and I go, how do you get out of a Jalen Hurts contract? So they gave me a little parameters on how to get out of it. Now look, I happen to agree with John. Do I think they'll move off of him after this year if 2024 he doesn't have a great year? I'll tell you what, if he sucks worse than he did in 23, okay, they would move heaven and earth to get off his ass.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to. I think they want him to fall in line is what I think they want, and they're going to do everything they can. If we start to see more stuff like this, like I'm already waiting for Jalen's first press conference after he gets back for training camp. And like normally I don't really care much about the press conferences, whatever. Like it doesn't matter, say whatever you want. You guys aren't under oath. Nobody cares. Now I'm wondering, are they going to have Jalen come out and walk the line for the organization, make sure he gets in line, or else are you going to see more reports? Jalen Hurts sucks at training camp. Eagles not happy. Kenny Pickett looks good at training camp. I'm curious to see how that's going to go.
Didn't you find that odd that we used to get updates from ESP about Jalen's fabulous day of 1 for 2 for 70 yards and completion and really looking guys off? It was like a daily A for the day. This last offseason, it was this. Quarterback did not look good. Wasn't a good day. Hey, the quarterback looks inconsistent. John McMullen, Jeff McClain. It was like I thought I was at a White House press secretary thing where everything was set up to sound bad towards this. And you were like, whoa, everyone's falling in line with this. Now, is that
a great point right here,
or is that a setup by the organization?
I think it's a setup. I mean, like I like what Bob said because I asked John this. I'm like, all right, if they have a problem, Jeffrey's turned into Eskin to deliver a message. You're the owner and gave the kid $250 million. Take him to dinner and talk it out. It's so true. Even me and you, when we're off the show, bitching about shit. Sills, stop texting me, call me, and let's figure this out. Like men, like business people.
Yeah,
it's a business. And I wonder if Darlene, come on, Darlene. She says fire Jalen Hurts. We're saying he's not the problem. We're pointing to the front office right now. Something's up, Darlene. We're trying to figure out what it is.
Here's my problem. What they're doing with Jalen Wentz. You know what they're doing with Jalen Wentz? Okay, so they're changing him from 22. They don't like his attitude, the way he's acting. Jalen Wentz now is just seemingly, this is like another, and you paid them both. And now you don't like what he's saying. You don't like how he's not falling in line. And Carson Wentz was bitching about some of the personnel. I mean, it just seems so exactly the same.
I know. It's crazy.
And now you're treating Jalen more like Doug.
Oh, my God. See, this is a problem because if this thing blows up like that era of the Eagles did, there's only one answer. I mean, you're not going to blame a second quarterback, a second group of
I'm firing
players,
the
and a
GM.
second set of coaches on something there's one common denominator, and that exactly. Prince says, what's the common denominator? The front office, Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie. That's the common denominator.
How about this? I'm going to show you something here. So Trent Baalke was such a subversive in the 49er organization. He got Kaepernick off that team, who the year previous got him to a Super Bowl. He got Jim Harbaugh to resign. Players were retiring. 49ers finally went, wow. This guy, he hired Thomas Sula. Then he hired even Chip again up there. And guess what they did? They fired him. You know what he's doing now? He's general manager lapdog for Doug down in Jacksonville because he knows how to construct contracts. And that's exactly what Doug does to him. He keeps him in that sandbox. You're not in personnel. Doug handles that with his personnel people. So you have some of these guys that think they can do it all.
Yeah.
And know how to do it all. And they can't. His problem again, dude, anybody who has control of the roster in his eyes has control of the team. You see, cutting a good deal for the players is not good enough for him. He's got to have control of the roster. When you have control of the roster, you have control of the coaches.
I think it's even deeper than that. I mean, why is Nick not? Nick looks like he walks on eggshells constantly, and then he goes out there and says all sorts of different things, contradicts himself in different press conferences. I mean, he comes out and says it's a meshing of the offenses. Then he comes out and says, "Oh, I'm viewing the offense from 30,000 feet." Like he doesn't
that's
even.
What he hears from Jeffrey. He hears that from Jeffrey. You know what? I don't think this guy's lying anymore because I'm going to tell you why. You know what I think he is?
Which guy?
Nick. I think he hears exactly what they're telling him and their mentality and ideology and how they want this organization to be run. Because the only way, Xander, that you kept your job, you fired. If you hired Desai and you fired Desai, then you made the move. All of that shit is fireable offenses for making an employee. Dude, you were 10-2. You were in first place in the NFC to have home field. You destroyed an entire season. Okay? How do you keep your job? Dude, I saw Marty Schottenheimer 14-2 fired because he fucked the season up in postseason. These coaches are expendable, and they feel this. If I can fire Doug, I don't care how many wins and how many Super Bowls that guy's been to. I'm going to fire that guy. They look at him. They can't look at him like they look at Doug. There's no way you look at Nick Sirianni and go, that's a Super Bowl coach. Hey, you got there because we put you there. Nick looks at it like, okay. Doug looked at it like, you won a Super Bowl because I got you there. They don't want to hear that.
It's true. It's true. And it goes back to, remember when Doug won the Super Bowl? They didn't believe that was Doug winning the Super Bowl. They thought it was them and the genius of the front office that won the Super Bowl. The guy that went with a backup quarterback and beats the greatest coach quarterback duo in the history of the sport in the biggest game with a substitute teacher, wins the game, and they didn't think he was the reason they won it, or at least part of it.
And his coaching staff.
And the more we see that this stuff come out, I think the worse it looks for them, and that potentially is why they're protecting Nick Sirianni so much, or they're forcing him to the front so that they have their easy scapegoat if this goes to shit.
Well, I'll tell you something. I think really that JAKIB Sports, and most notably our show, along with Angelo, I think we've exposed these people. And get this, you know what's crazy? You're exposing a winning franchise, which is
that's the thing. It goes back to what I said earlier about, on one hand, you wonder what Howie's doing behind the scenes and if he's too involved in too much. On the other hand, you look at the roster and you're like, man, we're freaking stacked. I can't be mad at the guy. It's the same thing, right? We compete every year. We're in the race every year. It keeps you coming back for more. It keeps you on the rails, right? It's almost like we're stuck here. You know, I don't know where to go. I mean, it's hard to criticize him too much. Like I said, we got one of the best rosters in the league. That's Howie Roseman. That's a good thing for Howie Roseman. How can I criticize all the other shit? It's tough.
I want to show you something here. So he called the NFLPA up on Hurts' contract. And if Hurts was, say they wanted to trade him prior to this year after June 1, he's only been paid $24.3 million so far. And that's not going to happen. Okay? It's just not. Here's the two things that have to happen. He's got to waive his no trade clause. He's got to waive that if it's going to be. And what Howie has to do is find a dance partner. Now, get this. The contract for 25 is fully guaranteed. It's got option bonuses, a $41 million bonus, and his base is 1.17. That's why
you can't hide. They can't hide behind this one.
Hold on here. Next 3 years, they'll pay $133 million at around 44.33 per year. He would have to waive his contract and have someone pick that number up, the 133 over the next 3 years, for them to be able to move him. Now, I want to show you something else here. Russell Wilson, the Denver Broncos are paying him $44 million this year. And you know how much the Steelers are paying him? 1.3 to play in Pittsburgh. He's going to make $46 million this year. And the Broncos are paying a guy to play in the AFC half of $100 million just to get the fuck out of Denver. Okay? You can defer some of the money out too, but that lingers on your cap. The cap is going to continue to go up. There's no way a guy puts a deal like Jalen's deal together without an off-ramp built in somewhere in there. He's not going to give himself one thing his contracts are very great at, he never pigeonholes himself into anything. And they showed us in that Wentz deal, they ate $38 million when they moved his ass to Indianapolis. They'll eat some dough. And maybe, Xander, that's why you're saving up in that cap space with $30 million.
Yeah.
Why do you have $30 million in cap space?
I don't see this because I asked earlier.
But what do you have $30 million in cap space for?
Yeah, but how do you get around this as a front office?
Gotta
how
find
do you get around?
Pick the money up.
No. I'm talking about perception.
Oh,
the Eagles, and as you know, the Eagles care about perception.
The winning.
No, because if they trade Jalen Hurts, that means it didn't go well. I don't think Jalen Hurts is getting dealt no matter what happens. I think
you're gonna hang on to that guy.
They're setting Nick Sirianni up to be the scapegoat if things go wrong, and it's an easier scapegoat than the quarterback.
Here is the biggest problem that I have with how and where they are right now as a franchise. Like you said, there's no excuses. Bro, if you don't get close to an NFC title game or win it or get to a Super Bowl, no matter how much money you spent, John McMullen said it today. I didn't think Jalen played that poorly. I thought he was okay. Well, guess what? Okay's not going to beat Andy and Mahomes. You're not going to, all the money you spend, think about that. You could spend all the 49ers, all the money you spend isn't good enough. What do? Go back into the game again the next year with Jalen Hurts knowing full well you don't have the guy that can get you across the finish line?
Yeah, but why do you think that?
I don't.
Why do you think
he had the same
Hurts
personnel a year ago and he had a lesser of a year? Well, why do I think that? Because they're not coaching him like they did in 22.
Well, that's a fair point. Because
if you had him playing like 22 and 23, I say you were in the Super Bowl this year.
Listen, and that's a good point. But I understand some of the criticisms that people have of Jalen Hurts. But I'm not going to deny my eyeballs. I watched Jalen Hurts lead our team to a Super Bowl in 22. I watched him play a tremendous football game with one mistake in that game. One mistake.
Would you not agree that's the best game he's played in the last 18, 20 games?
It is. But my point is, I have seen him do it. I've seen him do it versus the pinnacle of the league. So I'm not going to sit here and say he can't take us there. Now, if he's not coached properly, then yeah, you're right. I mean, if they don't make him that player or at least put him in a position to be that player, then yeah, you're right. I mean, there is probably going to be limitations on that. But I'm not going to say I don't think we can win with Jalen Hurts. I think we can win with Jalen Hurts.
I don't think Jalen Hurts can win in Philly being coached the way he is.
Well, let's see what they do with Kellen Moore. Are you really confident that they're not going to get Jalen back into a system that works for him?
No.
Really? How come?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see why.
Okay, because Kellen's never coached that way in that style of play. And if you're
Well,
telling me that,
neither did Shane Steichen.
okay, well, wait a minute. He's going to create a brand new offense that he's never coordinated or called a play for in his entire offensive OCing in his entire 7 years as an OC in the league. It's a brand new style. It's a brand new offense, and he's never play called it before. Unless you're going to give me the Dak Prescott offense, he's called that offense. He was successful in that offense.
I think you
think they're going to play 22 ball? I do not.
I'm not saying I think they're going to play 22 ball. I think that Kellen's going to have an open mind and evolution and how to call a game plan for Jalen Hurts. If he doesn't, forget the team, forget the front office. Kellen Moore is going to look like shit if he can't make this work. If he gets fired 3 years in a row, he's going to look like shit. He's got to make this thing work.
That front office wants a running attack offense?
No, they don't.
22, you were a running attack offense.
Well, yeah, but there was good in that too, though.
Okay, there was good passing. There was
good passing in that. I mean, Eagles 22
there was efficient passing. Right.
I mean, we didn't torch teams through the air all year, but we ran
them over. Time of possession, field position, third and short, winning first down.
Yeah, Hurts threw for 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I mean, he had a pretty good year, to be honest.
Low market value when quarterbacks that you're paying $50 million for too. But you ran people over. You're not a passing offense. You think you are.
I'm not ready to say that Kellen Moore is going to die for this Eagles front office and do what they want. He needs to have success for himself and his career more than the Eagles need to have success. That means he's going to have to make a good team around the quarterback that he has. Now, here's where I think we are underestimating as a fan base, me included. I think it's going to take a little bit to get this thing going. I think it's going to take 6 to 8 games, maybe more, Kellen to really understand, and Jalen to learn each other's style, to figure out how to communicate, to figure out how to call plays for each other, to figure out how to do those things. It took Shane Steichen a little bit, but he got it on the rails pretty quick. And to your point, he never called an offense for a Jalen Hurts style of quarterback.
No, he called the year previous. He called Phillip Rivers.
Exactly. So So if you're a good offensive mind, like I believe Shane Steichen is, like I believe Kellen Moore is, despite the commentary on Kellen Moore, I believe he is a smart offensive-minded coach. I think he did a great job with Dak Prescott. I thought he was a little underwhelming last year with Justin Herbert, to be honest. I didn't think what he did there was great. I thought he had a great quarterback there, a lot of good players. Now, they were riddled with injuries. There was a lot of stuff that went on there, but I think I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's going to make an offense for this quarterback. Now, they're going to add some things. Like I said, I think they're going to force Jalen Hurts to do more, to throw the ball over the middle, to become a more well-rounded quarterback. But I'm not ready to say that they're going to coach him like they did in 23. 23 was a catastrophic failure. 22 was a great success.
You can't afford 6 to 8 games though to learn.
You can't, Cal. That's a good point. I mean,
it's the dilemma they're
in. Twiz, there he is in the chat. He's been saying this team should rip all Band-Aids off this year, put the young guns in, and let's get ready for a hell of a year in 2025 where we go for the Super Bowl. I don't want to go there because that just dismisses the 24 season and we're in June. Like, I think we have a chance to compete this year, but with the new coordinators, I think it might take a little bit of time to get this thing rolling. Now, it took the Chiefs a little bit to get going last year, right? I mean, they were struggling.
Oh yeah.
So if they get in with the right,
it took them about 10 games.
I mean, look, last year we blew our load early, man. We were friggin' the best team in the league in September and October. I don't care about September and October. I'd rather be the best team in the league in November and December going into the playoffs. And if it takes them a little bit and they can turn it on, I think we can compete next year.
Here's Swanky here. Last year we had the gauntlet. We went through KC, Dallas, Buffalo, and then played the Niners after they had a 10 days rest. Puts up 30 points. Defense sucked. Yeah, well, Vic said the defense sucked.
Well, I mean, I don't want to rehab. I don't want to continue.
Yeah, no, we're not.
But I mean, just look at that, right? We beat Kansas City, Dallas, and Buffalo, a gauntlet, and then they get
Miami.
and before that, Miami, and then they get rid of Sean Desai, and everything goes to shit. You can't beat
became
the
worse.
Niners. Blow you off the page, which is just embarrassing for every Eagle fan. That was brutal to watch. Brutal game to watch.
By the way, do you know who the offensive coordinator for Dak Prescott at Mississippi State was?
No, who was it?
Brian Johnson.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought he was at UF. Did he start at Mississippi State?
They were helping recruit him for it. Well, Dan Mullen was the head coach at Mississippi State before he got the job at Florida.
Oh, and then he brought Brian Johnson over to Florida. Oh, I didn't even realize that. I don't know. I got, I'm a little surprised that you think that Kellen Moore is gonna.
I'm how about this? I like Kellen. I do. I think Kellen did some good things with Dak and expanded his game. Okay. Are you going to what? But Jalen doesn't, he's not the passer Dak is. He'll never be. If you are trying to do something with that and trying to make him look a little like, I don't want him to look like Dak of 22, not a better version of 23 with more passing attempts. Dude, you have two wide receivers that gained 1,000 yards in the last 2 years, and you have a quarterback who's kind of below the NFL standard today. Even Baker Mayfield throws for more yards.
But he's already proven that doesn't matter.
That's the point. That's my point. Why are they so concerned with that?
Yeah, I guess they're just in love with the
idea. Keep him at 435 attempts. Don't put him at 450 or 556. You create more They created more turnovers because more passing attempts instead of doing what they did a year ago. I think they're really afraid of the injury and that Carson Wentz thing in Los Angeles, him losing those 2 games in 22. I think they're concerned with all that, and they want him around for a while.
That's stupid, though. You paid the guy. He brought you to the Super Bowl based on what he did. Maximize it. Take it. You have Jalen Hurts, a dynamic athlete, a dynamic player by every metric, who has shown that throughout his career. The minute you take him out of what he does best, he struggles, turns the ball over, doesn't look comfortable, pans out to the right, doesn't do the right things. It's very obvious what they need to do.
Do you know the 2 games that he's played the greatest in? The Southeastern Conference Championship game when he went in for Tua, and the Super Bowl. What does that tell you about the kid? Those are the electric games and moments you need your guy to play well. Well, fucking coach him like the way he played in those games.
I think that's the biggest disconnect with Hurts and the staff. I think Jalen is a serious dude. Like, he likes grizzly coaches. He wants to be told, no, that's not how you do that. He wants to be.
He had a Vic Fangio as his coach. Like,
exactly.
Like
that's what he wants. And I don't think there's not that many that
Nick Saban.
Well, yeah, but did he like Nick? I mean, I think he likes Nick Saban. I thought, that's why I thought he gave him the respect to stay there the year on the bench. So I do think he liked Nick Saban, and then he went to an offensive air raid attack to probably prepare for the NFL. That was probably more of a business decision than it was a coaching decision.
Well, no, you know what it was? The reason they went to Tua and they got away from him, because they got away from the old style Alabama, run the ball 3 yards in a cloud of dust. What they were doing with Tua was they were creating more opportunity for receivers and running backs to want to come and play at Alabama. Because, look, when you're a kid in the country and I see a quarterback that's running like this Milrow kid or whatever it is, Milrow, he's not going anywhere in the NFL. But you know what he does do?
Yeah,
he kind of hurts them a little bit, because when you look at the wide receivers that have gone through Alabama over the last couple of years, Alabama known for wide receivers since when? The last 6-7 years?
That's
okay.
it. There's some. Julio, Calvin Ridley was really good in college. Julio Jones,
a wide receiver in the last, prior to Nick getting there, can you name me a wide receiver from Alabama that was worth a shit? Not Ozzie Newsome. He was a tight end. Can you name me an Alabama wide receiver in history? Who, Ray Perkins?
Yeah, no. And even before that, you remember when Blake Sims and Jake Coker were the quarterbacks in Alabama? Yeah. I mean, they didn't have that type of offense.
He was doing that to get the recruits to want to come in, all those wide receivers and running backs and offensive linemen to want to play at Bama. That's why he did it. All right. Xander, where are we in the like list, brother?
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Hey, by the way, folks, tomorrow we may be on earlier. Xander, we may want to tell the folks that, right?
Yeah, definitely tell them that. So tomorrow, I've hopefully my cousin's not listening. My cousin's getting married on the middle of a Thursday, which is just very unfortunate. I mean, just a very unfortunate time for me to have to deal with this. And I'm like in the wedding and stuff. So Big Sills is going to have an early show tomorrow. It's only going to be 2 hours. I know you guys are going to be pissed. I'm sorry. But we're going to do it right out of Birds 365, and we're going to do 10 to 12 Big Sills. Now, if you can't make that, that's fine. Make sure you catch the replay, but at least Big Sills will give you some content tomorrow. Yep. Sorry that it's my girl cousin Flex, but still, it's 1:30 on a Thursday. I'm like, really? That's not. Are you
going to be not hammered the next day?
Yeah, remember I wake up and do Birds 365 on Friday. I'm going to be like losing.
Xander's had too many cocktails from the night before there with that. So tomorrow, so that's going to be 10 o'clock you guys' time. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's been an early morning for Sills out there in Cali. 7 a.m. Sills will be getting up. So 10 to 12 tomorrow, guys. Be here. So we'll have 4. The good news is we'll have 4 straight hours of content. In the morning, right? We'll have 8 to 10. We'll have Farzy 6 to 7, and then we will have 8 to 10 Birds 365, 10 to 12 Big Sills. So at least we will have good 4 hours of content for 5 hours of content for you guys.
Absolutely. So we're going to do that tomorrow. I see that we're around 156 likes. That's fantastic. By the way, this is going to be more of a retrospect. This is going to be more of a retrospect with Merill Reese, because Merill has just been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And he just won the Pete Rozelle Award, which is given to the top broadcaster. And it's a high esteem honor. And we're so looking forward to congratulating him and giving him an opportunity to tell everybody some stories here about his journey being the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's coming up here in a couple minutes. Hit the like button, Xander. Awesome stuff as always. Thank you so much, my friend.
164 we're at, by the way. Let's get to 200, everybody. We appreciate you guys, man. Our fans are the best. Our viewers are the best, even the ones that chirp back at us. I love it because it makes good football talk, right, Sills?
You got it, man. Thank you so much, Xander. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up, and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, But would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
I've got to thank Xander for corroborating the things that I say, because sometimes, again, in the past, there's a lot of people in my business who don't want, and it's why I post pictures and things, because I've been called out as being a liar. And I'm not trying, it's not really, but Xander and Angelo think it's a merit badge that our show has gained so much steam, and because of you guys. It really is because of you. That they don't want me talking to you guys this way. They just don't want me talking to you like this. Okay? They don't. And listen, I get it. I do. Thank you, Mr. Perez. I appreciate that. Hey, man. I don't care what time it is. Ever. I have a passion for talking, and I have a certain skill set for it. And I've been doing it for almost 40 years. Are the ceilings holding your dog hostage? The agreement segment 2.0 is here, ladies. No. This is going to be more about celebrating a man like Merill Reese. You really want me to go knee deep into Merill Reese? Or do you want to celebrate a man's journey on being the voice of the Eagles now going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? That's like asking Jalen Carter, how come you're not with more contrite when it comes to what happened in Georgia? Not cool. I saw this, and we had Merill on. I love Merill Reese's comments, too, when I tried to get him on the other day. He goes, listen here. I can't miss a golf shot here. Can't do it now. Okay? I can't miss this golf shot, Dan, so I can't miss any holes. I don't want any. Okay, it's not going to happen here. This is a tournament that matters, too, so I can't miss any golf shots. So I absolutely loved that when he said that. But last week, Merill Reese was, and the great folks at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who I'm very close to. My uncle's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, obviously. Some of my dearest friends are in the Pro Football. I've been there. I've got a lifetime pass because of being a former player to go to the Hall of Fame. And they got a section in there for the Roselle Award. It's some of the greatest broadcasters of all time. If John Facenda's in it, you have Harry Callis. You have some of the greatest voices in the history of Philadelphia sports. Think about what I'm saying to you. Harry Callis and John Facenda. I mean, and then you see something in your phone and you're like this, Canton, Ohio, and this is Merill. I'm just assuming this is Canton, Ohio. Canton, Ohio. Must be a life insurance company. He picks it up and it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame and it's John and the guys. Let's bring in the legendary voice. Hopefully I portrayed that right, Merill Reese. Hopefully I portrayed that right and how it went down.
You did with one exception. With one exception. Harry Callis is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh.
He is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. See, baseball's version of the Pete Rozelle Award is, I believe it's called the Ford Frick Award.
It is.
And that's what Harry is in.
How about all those men? Were they actively working still when you got into the business?
Boy.
Wasn't Facenda still doing NFL film?
He yes, of course. Yes, John Facenda was, yes. And, boy, I would imagine John Madden was coaching.
Yeah. John Madden was and yeah, that's right. John Madden was coaching back in because John quit in like 81, something around there. Then he got into CBS and he went into broadcasting. But for you, coming up during that era where Harry Callis is talking Phillies baseball, Facenda, who was I think was a sportscaster,
No, he was
on the news.
He was a news anchor. You know, he would finish every newscast by saying, "Do have a nice night tonight and a pleasant day tomorrow." That was John. He was on Channel 10 in Philadelphia for many, many years. My grandmother loved him.
What does it feel to be in that room and in that group now that you're being honored with such a prestigious award? Because the Roselle Award is a prestigious award. And Merill, I know you're a humble man, but you're in a conversation with those men.
I don't know. I am humbled by it. I was shocked, and I am humbled by it. The funny thing, Dan, was in 2016, Jeffrey Lurie called me and told me that I was selected for the Eagles Hall of Fame. And I was happy. I was thrilled. My reaction was one of joy. And it was, I guess I kind of figured that after broadcasting the Eagles for so many years that eventually I would sneak in there. But this is something I never considered. It was not on my bucket list. It was unattainable. It was out of my mind. I never thought about it. And when Jim Porter called me from the Hall of Fame, I was driving out to golf for a change. I was driving, and all of a sudden he called me, and I see on the screen Canton, Ohio. And I'm thinking, who do I know in Canton, Ohio? And I answer the phone, and he said, "Congratulations, and you have won the Pete Roselle Award, and you're into the Hall of Fame." All I could do was cry. I mean, I was so emotional. I could not believe it. And then he told me, "We're going to release it tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So please, we don't want it on social media. We do not want anyone to know until 11. You can only tell your wife." So I called my wife, and again, she answered the phone, and I am emotional. I'm crying. She thought I was in a car accident. Oh my God. And I'm finally yelling, "No, Hall of Fame!" You know, so it was crazy.
Well, who was the first person you thought of when you realized what the call was and you got the opportunity now to have yourself enshrined in Canton? Who was the first person you thought of?
Who was the first person I thought of? I mean, other than my wife and my son and my daughter, they were the first people I thought of that they were going to be proud of their.
Hopefully we're able to connect here again because this is great stuff here, man. I mean, you know, you're enshrined in Canton, and I got to tell you, Merill, I'm so thrilled for you because that's such a hallowed place. My family, we have family members in that, and I wanted to get moments from you. What was the greatest Eagle moment for you as a broadcaster?
Oh, that's easy. That one I can answer quite easily. That was February 4th, 2018, or 2018, after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. That moment when they won that Super Bowl, oh my goodness. Oh, I mean, that was it. I mean, for years, Paul Domwich of the Inquirer, the week before the Super Bowl, did a whole interview, and he said to me, "Will you write down a couple of lines, because it's going to last forever, of if the Eagles win, what you will say?" And I said, "No." I said, "If it happens, it's going to come from my heart." And the genesis of it really is, for years, Angelo Cataldi would have me as a guest on the morning show from time to time. And he'd say, "I want the Eagles to win the Super Bowl for you, for all you've gone through for all these years." And I said to him, and I was not being disingenuous, I said, "Angelo, I've had miracles in the Meadowlands. I've had great things to describe." I said, "I want it for the fans, because these fans come out there in any kind of weather. These fans, some of whom get second mortgages so they can buy season tickets. They spend their last minutes, their last dollar around the holidays to get their kids' Eagles jersey and memorabilia. I want it for them." So when it occurred, first of all, Dan, I was scared to death. And the reason I was scared to death was not because I thought Tom Brady was going to complete a Hail Mary to win the game. because I think Aaron Rodgers has that kind of arm. I never thought Tom Brady had that kind of Hail Mary ability. Not that he wasn't the GOAT, but of course, in pure arm strength. But I was nervous because, the newer the stadium, the worse our seats are, because now those seats are super boxes and whatever. So at US Bank Stadium, we were seated in the exact opposite corner of the end zone. So that play was going to culminate 110 yards away from where we were seated. And that we can't use monitors for something like that anymore because thanks to Janet Jackson, everything's on the line. So Brady goes back and he starts to stumble forward. And as he lets go of the ball, inexplicably, everything slows down. I'm looking at it like it's one of these NFL films in slow motion, and I see it come down and I see it knocked around and it hits the ground, and I look up at the clock and all I can say is it's incomplete. The game is over. Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. And then I said, Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin. So that was the crowning moment.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's an iconic moment in a city known for passionate sports fans. And you mentioned, and I'll take the Super Bowl out of this, with one of the most distinctive moments, because I heard it the other day when I heard that you were inducted or going to be inducted with the honor. I went back and I listened to some of your calls, and I went back in the Miracle in the Meadowlands. Funny, my uncle was the general manager at the time of the Giants when that whole thing went down. And I heard your voice. Of all the games you called and all the moments that you called, would you say that that moment was the most improbable moment that you had in any of your broadcasting? Was when something was so, and Vermeil being the guy too, who always preached, never give up, never surrender. And there it was, never surrender. And Herman Edwards picks it up, takes it in. Pisarcik drops the ball, goes in. I think Zonka ran into somebody. And there you were. It was like you couldn't believe it. Was that the most dramatic moment in your broadcasting career?
I would rank that number 2. That was November 19th, 1978. I would rank that number 2 because that game was over, and all of a sudden that occurred.
Over.
Crazy. But number 1. Because the actual play was more dynamic, was December 19th, 2010. And that was at the Meadowlands. And that was where the Eagles were so bad in the first half that I said at halftime, the score is the Giants 23, the Eagles are still back at the hotel. And then Michael Vick put together the greatest 30 minutes of quarterbacking I ever saw to bring them back from the dead. A touchdown pass to Brent Selleck, an onside kick by David Akers, recovered by Riley Cooper, a touchdown pass to Jeremy Maclin, a quarterback draw by Michael Vick, and suddenly it's even. And the Eagles, who couldn't stop anybody, stopped the Giants at that time, stopped Eli and company, and the Giants had to punt. And Mike Quick said there is no way they are punting this ball to Deshaun Jackson with 3 seconds on the clock. And inexplicably, Matt Dodge's punt came down and Deshaun muffed it. And then he picked it up. And then the Red Sea parted. And somewhere downfield, Jason Avant leveled somebody with a block. And Deshaun just kept running and running and running. And then he stops at the 1-yard line and pirouettes and does a dance. And I'm saying, I don't care what he does, just get into the end zone. And he did. That was the most incredible comeback I have ever seen.
The players that you've covered, was there one player that you enjoyed covering more so? And I know you have great affiliations and respect for everyone that you've ever covered, but was there one guy that every time he stepped on the field, something maybe brought a great call out of you? Maybe it was just the way the fans acted towards him. Was there one guy that you enjoyed talking about more on the air than anyone else.
Yes, the most, well, I'm not saying he was the best player I've ever been with.
Right, no.
But the most exciting player in my 100 years, Randall Cunningham.
Wow.
You just never knew what was going to happen. I mean, he got off a 91-yard punt. He jumped over people. There's a picture in my office of Randall hurdling the entire Giants defensive line. You never knew whether he was, I don't think he knew what he was going to do next. Randall Cunningham, he was instant excitement. But there were other brilliant performers like Brian Westbrook and Shady McCoy. I mean, the great running backs, Wilbur Montgomery, those guys, the great wide receivers, Harold Carmichael and Mike Quick and Deshaun, and the two they have right now, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I mean, they were amazing. I mean, there have been great players at every position. Now, if your next question is going to be, and I'm reading your mind.
Yes.
Of all the players you've covered as an Eagle, in my tenure, who was the greatest Eagle of all time, or from 1977 to today? That would be Reggie White. That would be Reggie White. He was right there with the best who ever played defense. And number two would be Brian Dawkins. Those two.
Wow.
But Reggie number one. Reggie was the best defensive end I ever saw.
The first year he came into the league coming from the USFL, I think he had like 9 games, 12 games, and he had 21 sacks.
Yeah.
It was like he was getting 2-3 sacks a game, and it looked like he was so far advanced from everybody. And I was in college at the time at Miami, and then obviously when I got in Jerome and I would watch him, and he came from the Memphis Showboats, I believe.
Yes.
And he got to Philadelphia when they had the supplemental draft for him, and I don't think he wore his traditional numbers first year. I think it was,
he was different. 91 the first year, and then he became
91.
90.
Then he went to 92 the second year, correct?
Yeah. But the funny thing is, there was only one other player I used to say this about, how he would give offensive coordinators nightmares all week, that you never know where he was coming from, but you knew he was coming. And that was the Giants' great Lawrence Taylor. And I felt the same way about Reggie. They moved him around. You never knew what he was going to do next. He totally dominated a game.
Coaches, you've had a very colorful list of guys to have a post and pregame and maybe even an in-game conversation with. So you get Vermeil, who Randy Cross tells me, one of the most intense people you've ever seen. Don't let the California guy fool you, because he was a very fiery guy. He didn't believe in taking time off, but he was also a really emotional guy. And if you knew anything about Dick Vermeil, you understood it came from a place of love. Then you had, of course, you had Ray Rhodes. You also had
Buddy.
Andy, Buddy. I mean, of all these coaches, who did you enjoy and who did you have more fun with interviewing the most in your time since 77 as a coach for the Eagles?
My favorite is Dick, because in the dictionary, if you go to see, under the word charisma, there's a picture of Dick Vermeil. I never saw anybody who communicated with his team the way Dick Vermeil did. But there have been so many. I had a lot of fun with Buddy. Buddy was controversial. I love Buddy. You never knew what he was going to say next, but he was great to me, and he took me into his confidence, and he said things that I would never repeat on the air because it would get him fired sooner than he eventually was. In fact, when he was fired after a loss to the Washington team, and he called his own press conference that Monday morning, and as we all came into his den, he turned around and he said, "Well, it's the first time anyone's ever been fired for winning." And then later he bought a racehorse and he named it Fired for Winning. Buddy was the most remarkable. He was funny. He was great. And I loved Ray. Ray was a laugh a minute if you got to know him. He was terrific. He was great. I loved Ray. And then, I mean, Andy was a terrific coach. Andy's Hall of Fame bound. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And a wonderful person. I loved Andy. And Doug, loved Doug. Doug was terrific. Nobody realized that Doug would be the kind of coach that he was. But he was a terrific person. He gave me the most inside look at the game than any coach did, because I knew him for 19 years. By the time he became the Eagles coach, I knew him when he was brought in here as the sacrificial lamb until Donovan McNabb was ready to play. And he'd go out there and get beaten up every week. So I knew Doug really well. And Doug shared things with me. I could go into Doug's office and he'd tell me the gadget plays they were going to use that week. He'd draw them up for me. And then I'd look like a genius when I could describe them and see them coming. But he was a great friend. He's a great friend. I can pick up the phone when we get off the air and call Doug and have a great chat with him. He's a wonderful, wonderful person.
Couple last questions for you, Merill. Merill, for me as a broadcaster, I've been doing this now for about 36 years. I've been on the air, and I was on the radio for 32. And I'll say this to you, that I had more fun when I didn't know what I was doing when I was younger. And I was going through and I was learning the business, and I was learning my mistakes. And it just seemed that the journey was a little bit now. I found out the more I'm more like me, the more I resonate with folks. Back then, I was still trying to find, when you were younger in your broadcasting career and you were getting your feet wet in 77, 78 in that time, how do you look at your earlier time as a broadcaster compared to now? Did you enjoy it at the beginning? Do you enjoy it more now?
Dan, aside from dreaming about being a quarterback when I was 10, once I realized that 5'8" was it. But once I realized that this is my dream job, and I have loved play-by-play, and I have loved football forever. So I did enjoy it from the very beginning, and I enjoy it as much now. I love every single second of it. However, when you're talking about the difference, in those early years, I was careful in the sense that I would not be overly critical, because I did not want to be the former voice of the Eagles. And I know the realities of what you can say and what you cannot say. And even to this day,
oh yes,
I'm not going to take anybody apart or call for anybody's job or say anything unkind. However, when the Eagles played the Giants in the last game of the regular season last year,
I heard it.
And I said, this is not a good football team. And I did not believe for a second that they were going to beat Tampa Bay in the playoffs on that Monday night, because they had lost it. They couldn't find it. They had weeks of opportunities to turn it around, and they couldn't. So I'm honest. I feel that my longevity in that booth has given me a feeling of credibility, so people know I love the Eagles as much as they do. I'm not there to hurt the team or belittle anybody, but I have great respect for Eagles fans, and I feel an obligation to be honest with them at all times.
Don't you agree, Merill, that for you, if you were to give advice to a young aspiring play-by-play guy, it would be what you just said, is to build the equity with the fans up first before you can start being and expanding what you and how you see, like you said, because when I heard you, I was driving back from my daughter's college and I had you on Sirius XM, and I just went like this. He never talks like that on my program. And I go, but he's like, this is not Eagle football. You and Mike were both going back and forth, and it was really like, I couldn't believe, and I was like, wow. But to me, it's about building equity up with the fans and with the organization and with the community. When you say that would be some advice that you give, build your equity up before you start going in, slashing and burning.
And also remember that you are not a fan. There are two things you will never hear come out of my mouth, and I have never said it from the very beginning. I have never said we. I have never said us. I talk about the Eagles. Now, does my voice reflect the tenor of the game and what is happening? Of course. At the same time, I feel as if I'm a journalist angling the game to an Eagles fan. In other words, they want to know why the Eagles are beating the Giants or why the Eagles are trailing the Cowboys, not vice versa. You're not part of the team. You may feel it inside. You may love them. You may want them to win, but you are calling the game with as objectively as you possibly can.
Finally, who was your first color analyst that worked with you in the booth?
Well, when I took over with 2 games to go in the 77 season after Charlie Swift suddenly died, Dean Tyler, the program director at WIP, left it up to me. He said, Merill, go get a color analyst for the last 2 games. And I said, okay. And I called a native Philadelphian who I knew, who I had met at the station, and who was one of my favorite players and one of my favorite people and in the Hall of Fame, the great Herb Adderley.
Oh, my God.
Did the first 2 games with me.
No way.
Yes. Yes. Number 26, Green Bay Packers. But Philadelphia's Northeast High School and Michigan State. So I did those first 2 games with her. Now, I didn't know if I would get the game because after the season, I didn't find out until the following March that I was it. So, I mean, I never knew. But Herb was my color man. Then the following season, after I got the games, and was named the play-by-play voice of the Eagles and sports director of WIP, Herb couldn't do them anyhow because he had then in the offseason joined Wayne Harden's Temple coaching staff. Huh. So we had auditions, and the person who got the color job for a couple of seasons was a Philadelphia writer, journalist by the name of Jim Barniak. And when Jim left, for a couple of seasons, Bill Berge was in the booth. And after Bill Berge for a couple of seasons came the character of all characters, Stan Walters, the Eagles all-pro left tackle. And Stan was a riot. You never knew what Stan was going to say. We're doing a game against the Cowboys, and Stan is looking at, he's getting angry because there were so many marginal calls and everything went against the Eagles. And Stan Walters says, Tex Schramm has these officials in his pocket. He's a member of the competition committee. He has them in his pocket. And the writer's booth is right next to us. And all of a sudden we hear a pounding on the window, and we look into the glass, and Tex Schramm is standing there showing that there's nothing in his pockets. And he was scheduled to be Stan's halftime guest, and he didn't show up. And what's more, they took Stan off the Cowboys mailing list. And Stan said, good, I don't want to be on it.
Holy cow, I learned so much right there. Are you trying to tell me Merill Reese is the guy who handed off the PD job to Bill Bigby? Are you the guy that handed that off to him?
What? To Bill? No, Bill. I said Bill Berge.
Oh, no. What wasn't there a guy by the name of Bigby that was the
Tom Bigby?
Tom Bigby, yeah. Did you hand the PD job off to him?
Hand it off? No, I wasn't ever the PD. I wasn't in position anybody's job. Tom Bigby hated me. He was the only guy. He hated me.
I hated that guy.
You know why he hated me? And I don't like, he passed away.
I know, I got it.
But you know why he hated me?
What?
He hated me because he wanted me to get into the booth each week and get into an argument with Stan Walters and become controversial and go back and forth like the morning show does on a talk station. I wouldn't do it. And he really wanted to get rid of me, but the company wouldn't let him. But
I'll tell you what. So I got an opportunity to go to WIP.
He said, I don't care if you believe it or not. you say something to start an argument in that booth. I said, I am sorry, I will not do that. Well, then, so he wanted me out, but he didn't. He was program director. He wasn't the company president who said, don't you dare leave him alone. And years later, he apologized to me, believe it or not. But in fact, Angelo Cataldi had it in his contract that Tom Bigby wasn't allowed to talk to him.
He told us. He comes on once a week here on our show, and he told us that because I go, look, Tom Bigby was trying to get me to go, and he wanted me with some sort of light in the booth where, get this, a lot of people don't know this, that he didn't like callers on past a minute or some shit.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. If it's good content, he goes, well, then, Andy Bloom was trying to hire me. Then he ended up getting fired. But I went up to Philly 3 times, and I told Angelo, I go, Angelo, I was supposed to follow you. Like back when Bigby was there, when I first got started in it. And he goes, it was over the light bulb. He goes, I had something in my contract that guy could never talk to me.
Yeah, he did. Now, unfortunately, he could talk to me, but I didn't have to listen.
Well, Merill, we've been listening for all these years, and congratulations to you and your family. It's a tremendous honor to be enshrined in that building. There's so few that are in that building. It personifies everything that I love about pro football, and the people, the voices of it, the men that played it, to be a part of it like that has to be a thrill for everyone, including your family. So congratulations.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it, and I always enjoy coming on with you.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. God bless, Merill.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You got it. That is the great Merill Reese, the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, now being enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right, where are we in the like list? I got to take a time out here. Much love to Merill Reese. Where are we on the like list? Where are we? Please tell me we're close and getting there. How close are we on 185? I need 15 by the end of the program. Okay? 15 more, folks. Do me a favor. Hit the like list. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up, and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
the greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Do me a favor, please hit the like list. That's always awesome when you get a chance to talk to legends. Xander, where are we right now in the like list? Because probably the last time I asked for it, today at least, because I'm going to tell you a story. Don't forget, tomorrow, 10 o'clock, we're going to be on. Little programming change because of some scheduling issues. So we're going to do tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We're at 193. We need 7 more, guys. We talked to a legend by the name of Dan Sileo 5 days a week. Senor, that's great. Thank you. I'm going to talk to you about a man that I met in 1998. Or wait. Yeah, no, 95. And I got a job in San Francisco. I'd come up from Vegas. And I got a job, first off, at KGO Radio. I was on News Talk. I was doing sports updates on KGO 810. Number 1 radio station with Mickey Luckoff and Ken Berry and them guys. I think it was a Cumulus station. And all of a sudden, Bob Agnew calls me. Hey, what are you doing over there? Come over here to KMBR. It's the voice of the San Francisco Giants, and we have the Golden State Warriors. Why don't you come over here? You may never be a sports talk host, but you could be an update guy. I'd love to have you. I said, well, I wasn't sure I wanted to leave where I was because I was making more money. So I go over to KMBR, which is Susquehanna Station, which is no longer a company. I'll never forget, there was a guy who missed a shift. And I got the shift, and John Madden called and said, this guy's the best thing going. Another guy heard me. His name was Willie Mays. He wanted to have lunch with me. Gary Radnich introduced me. He was the midday guy. And I'm like, Willie Mays? And you got to understand, in New York, Willie Mays, Snyder, DiMaggio, Mantle, those guys were gods. When I grew up, they were gods. When Willie Mays walked into my studio, I couldn't believe I'm breathing the same air as Willie Mays. I couldn't believe it. Let's go to lunch, kid. I'm going to lunch. I called my grandpa. I'm going to lunch with Willie Mays. He goes, get out. And I go, yeah. McCovey came. Cepeda came. Then I started doing the broadcasting and post-game show for the Giants. Dusty Baker would come on. Willie would come on. Bonds would come on. And I got to go down to Candlestick. Guess who would meet me there? Willie Mays. Passed away at the age of 93. DiMaggio owned San Francisco. But Mays was the prince of sports in San Francisco. There'll never be anything like him. He's the greatest ball player that's ever lived. There is no debating it. The greatest five-tool player that ever lived is Willie Mays. I caught him at the tail end in 73 when he got to the Mets because I was a young kid. First at bat, he hit a homer. I remember watching it on WOR TV. That's Willie Mays. And here I am having lunch with him. Rest in peace, brother. truly not just one of the greatest baseball players of all time, but one of the greatest American sports icons of all time. I breathe the same air as Willie Mays. A moment I'll never forget being friends with that guy. Rest in peace. Guys, thank you so much. We got to 200. You guys were sensational. I thank you. Joe, Xander, thank you so much. 2 to 6 tomorrow, and we shall see you on the flip side.